Good morning. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It is 11 a.m. on this Thursday, June 19th. You're looking live right now outside the White House. That's the White House press stakeout area. So anytime that someone like Stephen Miller or Karoline Leavitt or really anybody from the White House sometimes steps to that microphone. So if that happens at all during the course of the next couple hours as we await the Karoline Leavitt press conference, of course, the White House presser, which will be a very must-watch situation as we are, of course, in a very interesting situation right now. As we know, the question is, will the United States attack Iran or not? We'll see. We've heard it from President Trump. He hasn't said which decision he's going to do. So what we'll do here at the network, of course, we'll monitor the situation. We will hear from the press secretary at 1 o'clock Eastern. We have a number of live interviews today. We'll hear what everyone is saying about either side of the issue. And my job will be, of course, to host and moderate and see how things go when it comes to what people say. And it'll be great to hear their opinions on the situation in Iran, the situation in Israel, the possibility of the United States attacking the one spot there, specifically the spot called Fordo, the Iran military site under that mountain there. So will that be something that our country does? We will see. We'll monitor it. And we do know as well that in about 29 minutes from now, the president will be meeting in the Situation Room, receiving his daily intelligence briefing. So usually the president, of course, receives a daily intelligence briefing anyway. This time it says it's in the Situation Room. So this is high stakes, as you guys know. This is a very big thing going on. I know I'm preaching to the choir on that. So again, what we're going to do, our stance, or at least my stance here today, this morning, is to simply hear from we the people, conservative analysts, people like Bruce Lavelle, Carla Sans. We'll be joined by Megan Kohler in just a minute, just to talk about some other things as well out there, including that huge, great thing that happened yesterday outside the White House with the two flagpoles being put up, and then the beautiful Old Glory on each side of the White House. So we're looking to get her thoughts on that and some other topics as well. We'll also be hearing from T.S. Dixon. So T.S. Dixon, Carla Sans, Bruce Lavelle, Megan Kohler, and possibly Seth Keshel. So we'll see if he's able to join us from the West Coast as we get ready to hear from Karoline Leavitt there at the White House. Before we get to some of our interviews and some more commentary, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. As you see there, you could pay less for prescription medications. A new COVID variant spreading fast out there. If you look it up online, there's definitely a COVID variant out there, and people are once again scrambling for treatment and prevention, so you don't have to wait. Stock up now. All Family Pharmacy is running a summer sale, so you can get 20% off every medication on their website through June 30th. They carry more than 200 essential medications, everything from ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, daily prescriptions, NAD+, and more, all with a doctor prescription included, and then that prescription shipped directly to your door, and you can order in bulk as well if you'd like. You can check them out, whether it's for prevention or just peace of mind. You'll find exactly what you need to keep on hand and avoid unnecessary doctor visits or urgent care trips later. All right, so it's the easiest way to stay ready. Every household, of course, should have a stocked medicine cabinet. Now's the time to do it. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, let's move on to Colonial Metals Group as well. It's simple as this, freegoldguide.com. I mean, as soon as you get that info kit in the mail and you page through it, or if you look on the website, freegoldguide.com, you'll see if there is a peak of interest there, because when there's the situation that we have when it comes to the BRICS nations using their own currency and instead of our dollar and all the different things going on out there, even though Maganomics is on the rise and things are going better in the economy, having gold and silver as a backup plan, always an option for you. So you can protect your IRA or your 401k with gold, 100% tax-free. You can shield your savings now. Use the QR code right there. Colonial Metals Group, another great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, all you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN, or you can use that QR code that you see there on your screen. And I've actually used that QR code before with my phone live. There's a screen in front of me here. and it goes right to the website. So it definitely works, and it's all good. So 11:05, Thursday, June 19th. Again, the big question, will the United States, will President Trump decide to attack Iran? Specifically, again, will it be at Iran's Fordow, Iran military site under a mountain? We know President Trump, what he has said over the years. We know that Benjamin Netanyahu has said the same thing when it comes to Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, reporting what we've heard, and of course, monitoring all of the developments here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, President Trump, in about 25 minutes from now, will meet in the Situation Room with the National Security Council. He'll be receiving his daily intelligence briefing, but also within that framework, some decisions to be made. And again, that's something that we'll see what happens, because yesterday the president talked about both sides of it. He said, well, am I going to do it? Am I not? Is he being the negotiator in chief, or is this something that he's going to take action on? Again, we're monitoring it here at Right Side. All right, so that again is the Fordow, Iran military site, which is under a mountain there in Iran. So we will see, and we will bring that information as we see it and hear it from the White House, whether it's through email communications or from the president or from Karoline Leavitt or any announcement at all, as we monitor this very, as they say, fluid situation. This is one of those news situations that's obviously very high stakes. We don't take it lightly. And there are other things going on, of course, in the country. But right now, that decision factor is a big one. All right, so 11:06 a.m. We're going to go to Megan Kohler here in just a minute out of Cleveland, Ohio. It'll be great to hear from her. Before we do that, Director, can we go to the White House video where they posted up those two flagpoles just yesterday? If we have that ready, it'd be great to go to that at 11:07 here Thursday, June 19th. Let's go ahead to that right now. Always beautiful to see Old Glory, now times 3. So the trifecta of the red, white, and blue at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House. So that smaller flag that's been there for quite some time above the White House there. You know, sometimes if you've ever visited the White House, you'll see, you know, Secret Service and that kind of thing on the roof there. You also see the prisoners of war flag sometimes. I believe it's there all the time as well. And then the American flag. Now, the trifecta, you have two flags. You're going to have the one that's in the South Lawn there at another location as well. So that just happening yesterday as we get ready for RSBN host Megan Kohler to join us live, as we are on standby mode in a way to see, of course, the 1 o'clock press conference with Karoline Leavitt, and then we'll hear a lot of information, I'm sure, about what's going on out there. This 24/7 news cycle is in hyper speed, as you call it. I mean, it's really happening right now, both domestically and internationally. There's a lot of interviews being done online and everything, everybody talking about that big question. I mean, this is on the minds of people across this country, across Europe, across South America, Africa, of course, Asia, Australia, everywhere, all across the world. In the Middle East, of course, definitely, because will the United States take part in what is happening in Iran there? So we'll see. Will the president make that move? That's something, of course, we heard from him yesterday. We'll monitor it as any decision is made. All right, so Megan Kohler, again, joining us at any minute. And then at 11:30, the conservative analyst and author T.S. Dixon will join us. At 12:05 Eastern, Carla Sans, former ambassador to Denmark under President Trump, will join us at 12:05, of course, working with America First Policy Institute. And then Bruce Lavelle, of course, great Atlanta businessman, longtime friend and advisor of President Trump, will join us at 12:30. And then at 1 o'clock will be the press conference. Of course, we're going to look at various Truth Social posts, X posts, any fresh videos that are coming in that are posted from the White House or any other government entities, and of course keeping tabs on the Middle East situation out there. Let's shift gears. Let's go to Megan Kohler right now in Cleveland, Ohio, RSBN host. Thank you so much for joining us, Megan. How's your morning going so far on this Thursday, June 19th?
So far, so good, Matthew. Thanks for having me on today.
Definitely. All right. So we just played that video outside the White House there. And I know you've been outside the White House before, correct? Can you talk to us about the fact that now these two great Old Glory flags high above there for the world to see? Isn't that awesome?
It just is such a patriotic moment to see these two flagpoles being erected outside the White House. And President Trump also enacted the one flag policy as soon as he got into office this time around. So you cannot be flying flags for any other political organization that you're trying to pander to different categories of people. So it's great to see just pure American patriotism with the American flags being displayed at the White House.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it next time I'm in D.C. to see those flags. Who doesn't love Old Glory? It represents so much for this country and the freedoms that we have. So it's awesome to see that. Looking forward to seeing that. Let's shift gears back domestically, continuing in a domestic front. When it comes to Los Angeles, when it comes to other cities across the country, the ICE deportations are still happening, even in the midst of this very, very fluid 24/7 news cycle with the Middle East. Your thoughts about the fact that the deportations are happening and what that means for our country moving forward, including within the big, beautiful bill of that possibly passing in the Senate?
I mean, this past month of May, 0 illegal immigrants came into this country due to President Trump's policies being strong on the border, compared to last year when Biden was in office, was over 60,000 illegal immigrants poured into our country just 1 year ago versus now. It's great to see a president who actually cares about his campaign promises. This was his number one campaign promise, was to secure the border, mass deportations, and to stop the illegal immigration crisis, because we truly cannot afford a welfare system over time with people pouring into our country. We're going to go bankrupt. We don't have unlimited resources. I know a lot of, the government people like to print extra money, but it has no value if you just keep printing money. So we don't have unlimited resources to share with the entire world. We can't be the global soup kitchen anymore. We physically cannot have a country without borders. This was President Trump's number one campaign promise. He's delivering on it. And I don't know why any of the protesters were confused or shocked or in disbelief that this was happening, because President Trump had been talking about it the entire campaign season, and the 4 years that Biden was in office, President Trump has been talking about it. So shouldn't be shocking anybody that this is happening, because President Trump is a man of his word and he's delivering on this.
Exactly. Let's shift now to hyper-local news coverage when it comes to OHIO, Ohio. Vivek Ramaswamy running for governor there. What are people saying there about Vivek? What's the overall feel in the Cleveland area? Not sure if you've been to Columbus and Cincinnati recently, but just what's it like there at OHIO?
So Vivek is starting to do campaign, like mini rallies and fundraisers around the state of Ohio, which I think is awesome. And of course, he is backing the MAGA movement. He sounds very similar to President Trump as far as his policies go. And I think this is going to be a good contrast compared to Ohio Governor DeWine that we've had for a while. So I think this is going to be a good switch up. And this is not the same old Republican Party that just talks about getting policies done, good ideas, and then comes up with excuses as to why they couldn't pass any of the legislation. So Vivek Ramaswamy he's a businessman. He made his business within the private sector. He knows how to create wealth. He knows how to be efficient, hire people, fire people. It's going along the lines of what President Trump has done. Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio, he also was a businessman who has done the same thing. So the trend of businessmen from the private sector getting into politics is going to be great for our country, and we need it on all levels. Of course, we have President Trump in the White House now, but we needed this on the state level. We need this in Congress. We need this in the Senate. And we need this just for each individual state, you could see the difference between what's happening in Florida versus blue states like California.
Exactly. And so to your point about Ohio, of course, Vice President J.D. Vance from Middletown, Ohio. I remember covering an event there, and it was almost like a President Trump rally because it was just as packed. I mean, there was people just wanting to see this great rally there by the Vice President. So yeah, Ohio with J.D. Vance, with Bernie Moreno, with Vivek Ramaswamy. So I believe that Vivek would win in a landslide in Ohio. I mean, they just voted for, President Trump and the Vice President Vance, and they voted for Bernie Moreno. So it's great to see that. Also, let's shift to Florida. You talked about Florida a little bit. Byron Donalds running for governor in Florida. That would be another great MAGA candidate. And not only MAGA, I mean, every time we talk about MAGA, I always want, us to remember that MAGA, Make America Great Again, about freedom, about we the people, about the Constitution, about America First, and all of that. And that is something that I saw the other day, Megan. I'm not sure if you watched the coverage when it was the Army 250th celebration, but somebody held up a sign that said MAGA forever. And I believe in that. I believe in that because it's rooted in truth. It's rooted in freedom for our country. And so is Byron Donalds there in Florida. So your thoughts about Florida as well moving forward?
I think Byron Donalds would be a great candidate for Florida. And actually, during these protests that were going on, the No Kings protests, in response to that, Governor DeSantis made a statement saying that if people are surrounding your cars, blocking traffic, the person in the car has the right of way to continue driving. So you can't let the mob rule in Florida. So I thought that was a great statement that he was talking about in terms of protests going on. And I think Florida has been a shining star, a beacon of hope compared to the other states across the country, especially during the COVID era. They were open. They did not shut down. They didn't have these draconian measures that the left-wing states were doing, and people had freedom in the state of Florida. So it's great to see that hopefully continuing. And MAGA forever really is a great statement. It's a great policy. It's a great foundational belief to have in terms of truly keeping America first on the global scale, keeping to our constitutional rights and our beliefs. The way the Constitution was written keeps the solid foundation for the United States, and we can never forget that. So MAGA isn't just about Trump. Obviously, this is a movement to keep America as great as everyone knows it is.
Exactly, and it means a lot. And it is President Trump, of course, the grandfather of it all when it comes to MAGA. Actually, we do know, of course, Ronald Reagan used some of that, but President Trump really took it to the next level when it comes to just really connecting with we the people as we see Make America Great Again, the most famous political slogan of all time. And when you look at overseas, maybe in Europe, maybe at the UK, you see Nigel Farage leading up the Reform UK party there. It's similar. They also say make England great. So it really is catching on for not only we the people and the people that love freedom, but the free world, the literal free world, people that are in all over the Middle East that don't want to be under a rule of somebody that's terrible for them. But we're talking about the people themselves. They want freedom. I mean, if you and I and a whole team of people went to China or we went to any country out there and we just talked to some of the people that weren't afraid to talk to us, they'd say, hey, I wish I wasn't, being controlled by my government. I wish I was free, And so that's really why we call President Trump the leader of the free world. Anyway, I know you know that stuff, Megan, but that's perfectly put about MAGA and how it means so much about the Constitution and our freedoms. Your last take on just what's going on the global scene right now. Obviously, some very, very interesting times, specifically a decision to have U.S. forces attack one spot specifically in Iran, which is called the Fordow Iran military site under a mountain there. If you want to chime in on that, feel free. It's something that, of course, we're hearing from both sides of the issue here at Right Side. What we're doing today, of course, is wanting to know what the next step is. President Trump is at the Situation Room right now, actually in 11 minutes. It's scheduled for an 11:30 intelligence briefing. So would you like to share a 30,000-foot view on some of what's going on out there in the Middle East?
So war is never ideal, and we don't want to get involved if we don't have to. But as a Christian, what scares me about anyone attacking Israel is that's our Holy Land. And if they start messing with all of our biblical sites, that would be just detrimental. And a lot of Christians and Jewish people haven't gotten to go see all those sites in Israel yet. So that'd be really devastating if they came in and tried to take over our Holy Land. So that's my main concern with anyone attacking Israel. And if we need to get involved to defend it, so be it.
All right, Megan Kohler, RSBN host, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I look forward to having you back on the show. And same thing with RSBN host Christina Loren. It's just great to see us out there in different parts of the country, but also when there's a rally like you were at in Pittsburgh the other day, always fun to see that as well. Megan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, 11:20, Thursday, June 19th. About an hour and 40 minutes from now will be the press briefing there, of course, at the White House with Karoline Leavitt. So that's at 1 o'clock Eastern. We have a number of interviews to get to before then, a number of sponsors to talk about as well, as we are in a literal live mode right now, a live situation desk here as it's RSBN Live, because we don't know if at any minute something could transpire when it comes to the Middle East. So we are, keeping tabs on that. And how we do that is pretty simple. Inside baseball, all it is the White House, of course, has the email correspondence that they send to all the networks. Also, we have President Trump, of course, that could hold an announcement if he wanted to. His Truth Social posts, we monitor those. We look at various sources, any connections we have here at the network. Also, we monitor Truth Social and X. And also, we'll hear from Karoline Leavitt at 1 o'clock to see, get a feel on what's going on. As we saw from President Trump yesterday outside the White House there, talking about really hasn't made any decision, on this matter. So again, today we'll be monitoring it from that news standpoint, and every guest that will be on, that question will be posed. What do you think about the situation out there? And keep it general and see how each person reacts to it. And again, we cover the news here at the network. Of course, we share opinion editorial from time to time, and that's something that we can always do as well as time moves forward, as it's 11:22 this morning on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, let's go to some sponsors there. I heard one of them in my ear, but go ahead again. Angel Paste. All right, angelpaste.com. You can use the RSBN promo code. Of course, that'll get you a good percentage off. And it's great with the RSBN promo code because who doesn't want to save money on a great product? So angelpaste.com. Not only the Miracle Cream is available, there's other options as well. So just go ahead, angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans, and they have great products as well. So let's go to callshe.com as well, callshe.com/RSBN. You see the QR code right below me. Now you're talking about whether it's sports or technology or politics or faith or weather or pretty much name a topic. Maybe it's films, movies or TV series. People are betting and trading on all kinds of things on Callshe. So have fun with it if you like. Callshe.com/RSBN. They also have a great app. So callshe.com at 11:23 this morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Matthew Alvarez on RSBN Live. Yesterday, some great coverage, of course, yesterday morning with RSBN host Robert McNeely, as we saw President Trump out there outside the White House and, shaking hands with the construction workers, the great hardworking people of our country, all of us that are working in some facet or another, but hopefully all in unison to make this country great again. So that was awesome to see that. We'll replay a video we started out with a little bit earlier. We're going to do that a bit later when it comes to the White House, posting a video about yesterday's flag ceremony in a way of being put up there at the White House outside there. So coming up in just a few minutes, we'll go to T.S. Dixon, conservative analyst and author, and then we'll have a few more interviews after that as we get ready for Karoline Leavitt's press conference, which will be again at 1 p.m. So the big question, of course, on everyone's mind, will the United States use military force in Iran or not? Specifically, Iran's Fordo Iran military site, which is under a mountain. Is President Trump playing chess as the negotiator-in-chief, or will we see military action in Iran? We're monitoring all of that here at the network. President's public schedule today, 11:30, 6 minutes from now. The president will receive his intelligence briefing. Also, that's going to be at the Situation Room. Usually, that's not where it's at. It's usually at the Oval Office. This time, of course, with all of what's going on out there, we'll see how that Situation Room meeting will go if they release it to the public. At 2:30, the president participates in the swearing-in ceremony for the ambassador to the Republic of Ireland. That's at the Oval Office. And then, of course, 1 o'clock is why we're here live. We'll be awaiting the press briefing there at the White House with Karoline Leavitt. This is one that will be high stakes, in my opinion. This one will be widely watched on streaming. By the way, a shout out to live streaming. According to Nielsen, streaming has overtaken both cable and broadcast with numbers recently. I'm going to double check all the specifics on that because I want to be accurate as possible. Streaming reaches historic TV milestone, eclipses combined broadcast and cable viewing for the first time. I believe that was from the month of May. So not only with news, but just in general, streaming. So obviously that's what we do here. We're a live stream network. We air on Rumble and other social platforms out there. So thanks so much for watching. That leads me to my next point quickly. A shout out to all the RSBN moderators that are on all these social platforms, including Rumble and YouTube and on. Those of you that have volunteered and dedicated your time to be in the comments section of all of these different live streams, all of the RSBN moderators since day one that have been with us, anybody that's joined us recently, thank you for what you do, and thank you for monitoring and moderating there on various social platforms, informing people if they have a question like, well, what time is this happening or when's this happening? Like all of that work. Thank you so much for doing that, as it takes a team here at Right Side Broadcasting Network to bring the best product we can day in and day out, slow and steady too, as we continue to grow here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's almost the bottom of the hour, 11:27, Thursday, June 19th. We do see a couple of President Trump's Truth Social posts, but I believe I'm hearing that there's a sponsor right now. We can go to that as well. Okay, yes, okay. We have one that's called Bearskin, of course. Now, if you guys have been watching recently, a great new sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm going to get to some of the specifics here. All right, so you have a 10-pocket tactical hoodie. Now, this is something that I have actually here on set. I tried this on the other day. This is actually the hoodie that goes underneath. By the way, you can wear this hoodie and sport it with some jeans and some boots out there. It looks great, feels great, fits perfectly. And then on top of that, the rain jacket just fell all the way down, so I'm gonna have to reach on live TV and get it, and there it is. All right, so this is the rain jacket that goes over the hoodie. And so whether you're fishing or boating or hiking or you're just out there in the outdoors and a storm happens, this bearskin right here over this is perfect. And I've worked in local news over the years and covered a lot of inclement weather. I always liked to, actually. I always liked to go out there in the blizzards and all that craziness, and I just liked it. I would always wear the baseball hat, and I would have this kind of gear on. And this, I wish I would have had this back then. Seriously, this is the good stuff right here. I already tried it all on. Great material. And you can get 60% off and unlock that by going to texting RSBN to 36912. So 36912. 36912. Saw this ad a while ago, Bearskin, and I was like, you know what, that hoodie looks great. I want that. Well, here it is in the studio. So you can get one too. Text RSBN to 36912. Next sponsor coming up here at 11:28. 11:29 right now is mypillow.com. The With God All Things Are Possible pillow. Got to have that. You get it for free too. All you have to do is purchase anything on the website. It could be the cheapest thing you want, or if you want to spend a lot of money, go for it. But mypillow.com/RSBN, you get that free pillow with any purchase. This is a $39.98 value, an exclusive special here at Right Side. So go ahead and get that along with a number of great products there, more than 2,000 products, as you guys know. I can go through the list, but I know you probably know most of it, right? Obviously, the MyPillow, but there's a Go Anywhere pillow too that's about that big, so you can go whether you're traveling on the plane or on a road trip. Also, there's My Coffee, there's the slides, the slippers, the Giza Dream Sheets are perfect. So mypillow.com/RSBN. You can save with that RSBN promo code. All right, so it's 11:29, Thursday, June 19th. looking live there outside the White House. We may be able to see the White House in itself as well, the exterior of the building, or maybe the Capitol as well, just to get a feel of the day there as it's the bottom of the hour, Thursday, June 19th. All right, so coming up, we will have the conservative analyst and author T.S. Dixon join us to just share his insight on current events. And that's really what today is about, is all of the interviews that we're doing today, just to talk about the current events that are happening out there and hear what people have to say. So that's why they're invited to the network and to share some insight. But these are people that we've grown to know because we're seeing them on our network quite often, but obviously expanding with a number of other interviews. I remember having Tommy Tuberville and Eli Crane on the broadcast, and as we continue to expand here at the network, just thank you guys so much for your support and your love, and we're going to keep on keeping on and monitoring again the situation there in the Middle East and anything else that we're going to hear about from Karoline Leavitt, who's going to be live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a couple of Truth Social posts as we await T.S. Dixon. We do see President Trump saying 7 minutes ago, I've just signed the executive order extending the deadline for the TikTok closing for 90 days. So that's September 17th, 2025. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that's from the president. Also, an hour ago from President Trump, he said, quote, "Too late, Jerome Powell is costing our country hundreds of billions of dollars. He is truly one of the dumbest and most destructive people in government. And the Fed board is complicit. Europe has had 10 cuts. We have had none. We should be 2.5 points lower and save billions on all Biden's short-term debt. We have low inflation, too late's an American disgrace." The president also saying, about 2 hours ago, the Wall Street Journal has no idea what my thoughts are concerning Iran. And that's the stance that I'm taking and we're taking here today, is I'm not going right, left, or upside down or whatever. I'm going to monitor what's going on just like you guys are at home. We're going to bring on guests and have them chime in about the situation there in the Middle East. Obviously not good when it comes to war in general, but we know that Israel has attacked Tehran. That was a number of days ago. And now the possibility of our country attacking the one specific spot there, Fordo, the nuclear site, or the site that's a military site in Iran. We'll monitor what happens. Also, we know that President Trump is 2 minutes now, if they are right specifically on time, at the White House. So, Director, can we get a picture of the White House up there, please? At the White House, we'll have the Situation Room. Okay, we don't have the feed of that yet. Okay. The Situation Room, that's happening right now inside the White House. So 11:30 was the schedule for that. So we're looking forward to hearing any details out of that. Now, you know that Karoline Leavitt, of course, will be sharing details at 1 o'clock, whatever details those are, and we'll have it here for you. All right, let's do this. Let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 11:35 this morning, getting ready for, of course, the press briefing at the White House at 1 o'clock. Now, we know President Trump in the Situation Room at this point, according to the public schedule that the president's team sends out to the networks and all of us in the media. So we'll see if there's any details out of that meeting. But we do know, of course, that we'll hear from Karoline coming up in about an hour and a half from now. Also, the White House, of course, talking about the big, beautiful bill, including no tax on tips. They just posted a very brief video. I think it was within the hour. Let's take a look.
We will make America great again. God bless you. Good night. I love you.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself up.
So there you go. No tax on tips, part of the big, beautiful bill. A number of other things out there, of course, whether it comes to the taxes. That's I believe it's 13%. I heard 13 and 15%. So around 13% decrease in taxes for anybody making $30,000 to $80,000 a year. So there's a tax cut, of course, a huge tax cut in there. And then also it talks about the immigration security and bolstering that, including finishing the wall and also overhauling or replacing or upgrading, whatever word you want to use, our aviation system. And speaking of that, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, his team at the DOT, just released a video about the aviation overhaul. So let's take a look at that video.
This is wildly exciting. I mean, if you think about the innovation that's happening right now, advanced air mobility, eVTOLs, drones, I think we are going to change the way people move and products move across the world, but especially in America. And making sure that we get the policy right. So when the innovators innovate, we make sure we keep that innovation in America. We keep the jobs in America and deploy it around the world. We have a historic opportunity to finally change our air traffic control system in America. That with all the great technology at our pavilion, it's the state-of-the-art system that allows all the new innovation that happens here to be deployed.
Great to have some truth and transparency in this White House compared to what it was, whatever that was over the past 4 years, if you want to call that an administration. Of course, you know, somebody on Truth Social was asking how to watch the replay instead of watching, if they can't watch the 1 o'clock live, how to watch the replay. And, you know, obviously Rumble and all these different social platforms, you can watch Right Side Broadcasting Network, watch the replay. If you don't want to, you know, listen to me or Robert or whatever, you can go right to Karoline's speech. I mean, whatever works. But the point is, the views are increasing. But also, what we're seeing is that compared to last administration, they had a press briefing pretty often. And I think it's because Joe Biden was sleeping or he didn't really talk a lot and there wasn't a lot of truth and transparency. I mean, President Trump was just out there yesterday, you know, talking and casually speaking to reporters in some ways of just, you know, the latest on where what his mindset is right now when it comes to the Middle East. So, and they asked me, they said they forgot that, they thought Karoline had a press conference every day, and she doesn't need to really have that because we have President Trump out there almost on a constant basis at the Oval Office. So it's just interesting to see the dynamic between the last administration and this administration. So anyway, yeah, if you are watching on replay right now, hello to you. Thanks so much for watching live, though, at 11:40, about 20 minutes out from the top of the hour. Our next interview, depending on schedule availability, will be coming up at 12:05, Carla Sans with the America First Policy Institute. Possibly there may be some more interviews that we have here live. We'll kind of monitor that as it goes. It's always good to just go with the flow here at the network. So again, 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy right now in the meantime. All right, so we do know that a new COVID variant, if you look online, is spreading, right? So it's spreading fast. People once again scrambling and looking for treatment and prevention. It's always something that you think about those kind of things. You think, I'd rather have ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine ready to go. And so let me continue here. So you don't have to wait. You can stock up now. All Family Pharmacy is running a summer sale. Get 20% off every medication on their website through June 30th. They carry over 200 essential medications, including ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, daily prescriptions, NAD+, and more, all with doctor prescription included, and shipped straight to your door. So you can check them out, whether it's for prevention or just peace of mind. You'll find exactly what you need to keep on hand and avoid unnecessary doctor visits or urgent care trips later. So this is the easiest way to stay ready. Every household should have stocked, of course, a medicine cabinet, and now the time to do it. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, 20% off up until the end of this month. So a great deal there with All Family Pharmacy. Also, let's shift over to Colonial Metals Group. freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website, so you can get all the information you need on gold and silver there by getting the free gold guide. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. So you can protect that IRA or 401k with gold. It's 100% tax-free. We know what the BRICS nations are up to when it comes to their finances. They're trying to use their own currency instead of our dollar, but still, you have that option, gold and silver right there. freegoldguide.com/RSBN, Colonial Metals Group. All right, so it's 11:42 this morning. Again, looking live right outside the White House there. That's the White House stakeout location. So that's the feed that we're getting right now from the White House. It's not the White House's choice, I don't think, on which feeds go out. I don't know all the inside baseball on that. But we do know that sometimes Stephen Miller or Karoline Leavitt or Tom Homan sometimes steps up to the mic. If that happens during our live broadcast, we'll definitely go there live with it. But in the meantime, we will be going to the 1 o'clock press briefing there. So thanks so much for live streaming in, as we will be getting ready for some more live interviews coming up here shortly. In the meantime, let's get back to President Trump's Truth Social posts as we monitor the latest out there with what's going on, not only domestically, but internationally. So we'll go to President Trump 2 hours ago saying the crooked Fox News polls got the election wrong. I won by much more than they said I would and have been biased against me for years. Let me expand the Truth Social post so I can actually read the whole thing here. They are always wrong and negative, this according to the president. It's why MAGA hates Fox News, even though their anchors are great. This has gone on for years, but they never changed the incompetent polling company that does their work. Now a new Fox News poll comes out this morning giving me a little more than 50% at the border, and yet the border is miraculously perfect. Nobody was able to come in last month. 60,000 people came in with Sleepy Joe in the same month last year. President Trump says, quote, and this has all been a quote, "I hate fake pollsters, one of the worst, but Fox will never change their discredited pollster." That from President Trump 2 hours ago. Also referring to a number of other things on there, as you guys have seen out there on the internet. So just to give you a little inside baseball here too. This is the laptop, of course, that I'm checking out here, or the iPad. So all the information that I'm seeing is directly from, Truth Social or X. Speaking of X, I like to always go over there, even during all of what's going on out there, to see if there's any breaking news that's happening. At this point, it doesn't look like there's any national breaking news, but we do see that there's been some horrifying footage that has emerged from I-40 near the western North Carolina-Tennessee border, where multiple cars were trapped in the flooding and mud due to a rock slide. Everyone was rescued, including a family with an infant. No one was injured. I-40 is now closed to all. I've been on I-40. I know a number of you probably have too. And this area here, yeah, a lot of a flooding situation there. That from Matt Van Swall, that's the ex-post. But the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, saying our prayers continue to be with the residents of washed out valleys in Appalachia. We are monitoring the situation there, and the U.S. Department of Transportation has been in contact with the North Carolina DOT and is ready to assist. Interesting videos coming out of that region. And if you remember, earlier this week, we had Christina Loren on the broadcast talking about West Virginia, specifically Wheeling, West Virginia, which if you pay attention to breaking news or weather and that kind of thing, a lot of flooding that happened there in Wheeling, claiming the lives of a number of people, washing out and flooding cars that were literally going down waterways rapidly and literally busting through homes, and it was just a terrible situation there. So of course, just to stay up to date on when you see something like a flash flood warning or a flash flood watch. Usually, to be honest, for me, I kind of brush by that. I want to see if there's a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. But now, when you think about the flash flood situation, you kind of want to, especially if you're living in any of the hills or valleys, if you're on a flat surface, the only thing that I can think of is hydroplaning. You got to be careful for any of that, of course. Don't want to deal with any hydroplaning out there. As it's 11:46. Okay, I don't see any other national breaking news at this point right now, but we are monitoring, of course, the president, the fact that he is in the Situation Room for a scheduled intelligence briefing that started at 11:30 this morning. It's 11:46. Coming up in a few minutes will be Carla Sans with the America First Policy Institute, and also the former ambassador to Denmark under President Trump. We're going to hear her thoughts on what's going on domestically and internationally right now. And then we'll go to Bruce Lavelle as well at about 12:30, so leading up to that 1 p.m. press conference. In the meantime, it's, again, 11:47 this morning. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Good morning. Welcome back. Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for joining us and streaming in live as we wait for this 1 o'clock press briefing. Of course, we'll have a couple more interviews live here to talk about various things that are going on, not only here in this country, but of course in the Middle East as we monitor the decision by President Trump. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Again, this is common sense reporting. Will we have any involvement when it comes to Fordo, which is that mountain zone area, the Iranian military site? Will our country be involved in that way or not? We don't know. We saw yesterday President Trump not giving a decisive answer because he's monitoring that. He's in the Situation Room right now. Of course, he's always decisive. We get that, but this is something that you got to really look at. So that's obviously what he's doing. So that happened at 11:30. That's what's happening at the Situation Room right now. In about 70 minutes from now will be the Karoline Leavitt press conference, of course. Looking forward to hearing from her, a complete rock star in the MAGA movement, of course. So looking forward to hearing what she has to say off the top. To be honest, I'm not really concerned about the questions and answers today. I would like to just hear what the opening monologue statement is from the White House press secretary so we can be informed on some decisions that may be happening. But of course, very high level, high stakes meeting at the Situation Room right now with the Commander-in-Chief. And again, we will monitor it here at the network. All right, so it does look like T.S. Dixon will be able to join us here within the next hour or so, but we will be having at 12:05 Carla Sans and at 12:30 Bruce Lavelle will join us to talk about just the situation that we see that's going on domestically and internationally right now, and any other topics that we want to bring up and talk about. Of course, it's an open forum, right? It's freedom of speech, but also reporting what's actually happening before our eyes. And right now, to be honest, that is what's outside the White House. It's a stakeout location. That's the feed that we're getting at this point. Of course, the feed that we'll get, that will shift over in about, I would say about 40 minutes from now, will be a split screen from inside the press briefing room at the White House. And we'll obviously have the entire press briefing from start to finish, no commercial breaks, anything like that. It'll be all there for you. And I believe, again, a lot of people will be watching this press briefing as this is a very serious time for our country and a very serious decision to be made by our president. So we will, again, monitor any developments that happen there. The president at 2:30 Eastern today participates in the swearing-in ceremony for the ambassador to the Republic of Ireland. That is at the Oval Office. It says closed press, so that may be something that none of the press gets, or it might be a replay that we can show you later. The briefing schedule, of course, is the 1 o'clock with White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. We tossed to a video earlier in the broadcast, and I think it would be great to toss to it here in a minute again. You know, those of you that watched yesterday at the White House where the flags were lifted up high, 100 feet in the air there at the White House. And the White House put together a beautiful video, just showcasing Old Glory. So let's go to that video from within the 24/7 news cycle. Red, white, and blue. High and proud there for our country. Great to see it there, and look forward to next trip to Washington to see that. It would be great just to get the photos and maybe the sunset and that kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, so it's Patriotic Day yesterday. Talk about a patriotic day. The 250th birthday party for the U.S. Army. Of course, Robert McNeely was there live, and we captured all of that. A huge event there for our United States Army. Great to have a lot of people watch that. I believe was that 1.7 million just on one of the platforms. And then I believe it was, there was just a lot of people watching on all of our great social platforms, including Rumble. So if you want to follow all of our channels all over the place, please go ahead and also share the links with your friends and family. Specifically today, I know that a large portion of who is watching right now, you guys are either working or maybe you're driving and you're just listening only. But the point is, if you get a chance, if you want to text the link, whatever platform you're watching on right now, and great if you're watching on Rumble as well, that awesome streaming service. If you'd like to send that link to your friends and family today and just say, hey, watch Right Side today. 1 o'clock Eastern is Karoline Leavitt's press conference. You know, what's going to happen with the Middle East situation. Maybe there'll be some details, whatever you want to put in the text or the email or whatever. Because what you're doing there is indirectly, you are actually helping with conservative media. You're helping with the right side of history. So if you can donate to the network, great. But if you would like to simply just spread the word, and that's part of how this all works. That's why they call things how they go viral, right? Well, that's how it works. And the more people are watching on the right side of history, whether it is Right Side Broadcasting Network with the millions and millions of people that are following, whether it's on X and Truth Social and Rumble and YouTube and Facebook and all of the rallies and events that we've been to over the years, which we're celebrating 10 years of existence this summer. So you really can do a service to conservative media and to media that you are more in line with. We don't even have to go through the laundry list of junk that the left-wing lamestream media has. And I always like using that word lamestream because Rush Limbaugh used that word lamestream. Man, I wish Rush was still with us. The godfather of conservative media, the one that started it all. Well, that could be debatable, but he definitely a big king of it. And then thanks to President Trump for really calling out the fake news over the years. But yeah, please go ahead and pass along as much as you can today the RSBN link for this 1 o'clock, because obviously this is an important one, just like every day is. Every day that we cover the White House is just another historic day. I mean, we have a president that overcame so much politically and personally, professionally, everything to get to this point. So this is a really, really big day, in my opinion, because the president's in the Situation Room right now. And because Karoline Leavitt's going to be speaking from that podium in about an hour and 3 minutes. And we know an elephant in the room, right, is are we going to, it's the big question on everybody's mind, are we going to strike in Iran? Fordo is the Iran military space underneath the mountain with those bunker busting bombs. Will we do that? So that's the question on everybody's mind. Will that happen? We're monitoring it here at the network. We're going to have some guests that come on the show to talk about what they think is going to happen and why they support or not, whatever. That's not for me to decide. I want to hear from the people, including we the people out there. All right, so angelpaste.com is the website. You can use the RSBN promo code. RSBN promo code goes a long way. Use it on angelpaste.com. You can get the Miracle Cream or other products, whatever you'd like, out of Spring, Texas, hiring military veterans, some great products right there on your screen. The Angel Paste Miracle Cream, and also there's, again, other products you can check out at angelpaste.com. All right, let's go to callshe.com as well, callshe.com/RSBN. So if you're looking to bet or trade on anything when it comes to sports or technology, politics, faith, the weather, whatever, really. If you really go to that website, callshe.com, or go to the app, you'll see all sorts of stuff to bet and trade on, and a lot of people are doing it. I remember Elon Musk talking about Callshe and other people talking about it. I mean, Callshe is a hot spot to go if you want to bet and trade. So callshe.com/RSBN. All right, so we are 1 minute from the top of the hour, 12 o'clock noon on the East Coast. It's still morning right now in America for only about 20 seconds. So good morning to you. If you're just joining us right now all over the nation, and anybody that's watching around the globe, which we have had from time to time, people watching from all sorts of countries out there. And we don't take it lightly. So we're glad to have you with us, and we're glad to be able to show you in its entirety, at least for those that speak English, because obviously I'm speaking English. I don't know if we've got subtitles for all these other languages, but maybe that's something we might do someday in the future. Who knows? But Karoline Leavitt will be speaking again at 1 o'clock there at the White House. All right, let's go to a number of other videos. We were talking about the big, beautiful bill earlier. I'm going to replay this one because I think it's important, because the aviation overhaul by the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, and who wants to deal with delays and computer problems and all that when it comes to flying the friendly skies. So, Director, if we have that video, we could play that here at the top of the hour. Right now, the Secretary of Transportation posted this pretty recently. Obviously, some technical difficulties. I'll stand by. It's all good. It's all right. No worries. All right. So 12 o'clock, noon. It was fun to just look at each other there for a minute. It's all good. But yeah, Director, let me know when that video is ready. We can go to that here in just a minute as we. Okay, now it's ready. Go ahead.
This is wildly exciting. I mean, if you think about the innovation that's happening right now, advanced air mobility, eVTOLs, drones, I think we are going to change the way people move and products move across the world, but especially in America. And making sure that we get the policy right. So when the innovators innovate, we make sure we keep that innovation in America. We keep the jobs in America and deploy it around the world.
We have a historic opportunity to finally change our air traffic control system in America. And I look at all the great technology at our pavilion. It's the state-of-the-art system that allows all the new innovation that happens here to be deployed.
All right, that from the Department of Transportation pretty recently there on X. So yeah, I mean, it's something that we'd like to monitor here at the network. Of course, Truth Social and X, you know, that's a place where a lot of people go to find out what's going on. What we do is we kind of bring what we see on Truth, what we see on X, throw it here for you together, all in a nice kind of package, if you want to call it that. But also what you get here, of course, is the live actual feed to Washington, D.C., to the White House, to various trips, like in Canada when President Trump was just there at the G7, left early to go to the Situation Room, or overseas trips, or all of that live. How about the Oval Office or today's press conference? I mean, there's a lot you're going to get right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for joining us right now as it's 12:02 Eastern Time, Thursday, June 19th. The President, again, about 32 minutes into that Situation Room meeting there that is part of his schedule today. Let's bring on the great Carla Sans with America First Policy Institute, former ambassador to President Trump when it comes to Denmark. So obviously you have a lot of international experience. You were recently, I think, at CPAC at Hungary. You were speaking to a number of people over there in the Middle East as well. So of all people, Carla, I want to hear from you. I do want to hear from other people too, but I do want to hear from you when it comes to your thoughts about what's going on with this decision. Are we going to strike Fordo in Iran or not?
I think it's going to be the most consequential decision potentially that President Trump makes in his entire service as our U.S. president. It's a big deal because Iran still has capabilities. They can still strike back. If we do go take out the nuclear, the underground, deeply underground, buried sites that they've sequestered away. It's a shame that we've gotten here, that so many U.S. administrations allowed this to fester and didn't stop it when it was easy to stop. And so I just hope that all of your viewers will pray for President Trump for divine wisdom in this decision making. I think most of us don't want young men and women to die and don't want American citizens to die. And Iran has capabilities. And so if we do go in and take those out, we have a lot of ships in the area now. We have not that far away in Diego Garcia, we have B-2s and B-52s. So, we have assets out there, especially our human capital, our people that we care about. Our culture cares about people, human life. So I'm not going to advise President Trump because I don't have all the intelligence he does have. But I just hope that this will end one of two ways, that the mullahs will say, gee, we think that it's probably better that we disarm and that we have a great opportunity for prosperity in Iran. I don't think the mullahs will do that, because I think that they can't back off the ledge that they're on and still save face in a very macho culture. But the other option is that the Iranian people rise up. And there's a wonderful woman that has a 10-point plan. Her name is Miriam Rajavi. And she has a group of Iranians who are in Iran and then expats who are supportive. And the people inside Iran, they want to change Iran's leadership. They're not asking for American boots on the ground. They're not asking for American cash. They literally want the leaders of the Western world, and I'll just say the civilized world, to support them and their efforts. And so that's what I hope that our leadership and the leadership around the world will do, that they'll support the Iranian freedom fighters that want a better way forward. She calls it the third way. It's about having a secular democracy, not a totalitarian religious, country led by mullahs that are so oppressive to all the people, but especially women.
Yeah, and from the Islamic Republic of Iran, of course, they are into Sharia law and all of that. So to your point about freedom, though, I love obviously talking about freedom here. The free world, people, whether they live in Iran or Israel or China or the United States or Belgium or Switzerland or Venezuela, the people actually just want that freedom. And it's just, isn't it wild, Carla, that it's only a few people that really have control, unfortunately, over the masses? I'm not talking about globally, but I'm talking about specific, like how about Brazil with Lula? We'd rather have Bolsonaro there, right? But we do have Viktor Orban in Hungary. So what do we do when it comes to these certain leaders that are just bad for the world's future, or the ones that are good? I mean, I don't know if I really have a question there. If you want to take it from there, Carl, go ahead.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about that, Matthew. So my take on it is that in some cases, unfortunately, American intelligence has helped to install bad leaders in some of these countries. I didn't know about this. I was very naive. But after the Twitter files, we had Elon Musk and his Doge team dive into USAID and tell the American people that, as a matter of fact, our tax dollars were paying for regime change, whether it was in Ukraine, where we installed Zelensky. And this is public knowledge. We have the receipts, if you will. There have been hearings in Congress. We helped to take down, and I don't mean you and I, but I mean bad actors from the US and the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, helped to take down Bolsonaro and install a Chinese-friendly, leftist, hardline, I'll just say communist, in charge of Brazil, which is a big, important economy in South America. China's trying to spread its control throughout our Western Hemisphere. We need to be done with this Middle Eastern issue and be able to focus on the chief danger for our country and our way of life, our civilization as we know it, and that's the Chinese Communist Party. So I'm hoping that this gets resolved quickly. I'm hoping that we can move forward with more leaders who love freedom and promote, the idea of equality, the idea of fair and free elections, the idea of courts that are fair and not biased against certain people. And that's what we have in the United States. And ideally, and that's what we have in most of the Western world, but that's what the people of Iran are seeking as well with this 10-point plan. So I hope that the American people and our leadership will support, finally, the freedom fighters, the resistance in Iran.
Exactly, and you were speaking about elections. Of course, part of the core promises by President Trump and the RNC was to have safe and secure elections and, voter ID, paper ballots, getting the election results in one day. Speaking of elections, the 2020 report that just came out from John Solomon, have to give credit where credit's due, of course, when it comes to some of the Chinese interference with our election in 2020, mailing ballots that were already filled out for Joe Biden, and that according to the FBI and John Solomon's reporting. What the heck, Carla?
I saw that. It is it's verified, incredible. It's so shocking and appalling that they were sending fake IDs from China to the US, and then they were sending the printed ballots. And they literally have the telephone conversations between the principals that were making these ballots and shipping them to the US, actually not shipping to the US, shipping to Mexico and Canada, and then they were sending them into our country. It's unbelievable. And when we uncover the fraud, I can only say, thank God it's being uncovered. Let's uncover everything. But the fact is, the hidden blessing, and when bad things happen, oftentimes God has a perfect plan, and we cannot, we can't outthink his plan for us. Of course, we wanted President Trump to be reelected in 2020. I get chills when I think about it. But the fact is, look at the effectiveness, because we had those 4 years in the desert and time to make plans. When I think about America First Policy Institute, it would never have been started if we had had a second consecutive term. Instead, America First Policy and many other conservative organizations helped to create an ecosystem and a plan that could be executed on day one, even before day one, by President Trump and his administration. And look at how successful it is. We're so blessed. And so let's keep our eye on the focus on what we have, the successes. Yes, we'll look at the past, but we don't want to spend too much time on the past. I know we need consequences for some of the worst actors. People have to go to prison that broke the law. They can't get away with it, or they'll do more the next time the left has control of the administration. So let's have consequences, but let's move forward, not look backward. We can't spend all of our capital, our time, because there's only so many hours in a day and so many days in an administration. We're already half a year in. We only have 3.5 years to go. So let's focus on moving forward and the good that we can do.
That was perfectly said. I want to play that soundbite 20 more times, and I'm not kidding, Carla, because you talked about the justice being served to those that broke the law. So then, if the left ever gets in again, if they win an election, I don't know how they would win an election right now, to be honest, because the majority of the country are common sense people. But anyway, we don't want to have something 10 times worse than what we just saw under Biden happening in this country. Carla, let's talk about the fact that we don't want what it's like in London or the UK when it comes to saying certain things or posting a meme. Oh, you're bad. It's a hate crime to say that you don't like this president. Like, what? We don't want to deal with any of that, do we?
No, it's true. Matthew, if Kamala Harris had won the presidency, right now, I'm not sure that we could be having this conversation. And certainly she would have gone after Elon Musk. President Trump would be probably on his way to prison for some trumped up charge that they would have been able to jam through some corrupt court. The corruption of these courts throughout our country is something that has to be dealt with. Bukele down in El Salvador talked about this, how he had to reform the courts because he was actually being stymied by, he called it the cartel of the judges. So we need to go after that. That is a clear and present danger to all of our America First agenda. But I'm thinking about the New York mayor's race right now. New York City is an important city. It's the greatest city in our country, I'll say. And we have a far leftist Islamist running. He's a socialist Islamist, and he reminds me of some of the mayors throughout the UK are hardline socialist Islamists. They want Sharia law. They want all of the things that the Muslim majority countries, not the peaceful Muslim majority countries, but the ones that are hardline have, like Iran. They want those laws in our country and in our cities. And so he has to be stopped. So I just hope that anyone in that region, if you're an America First person and you don't want to be governed by someone like the former mayor in London, if you don't want to be governed in that way with Sharia law as the goal, get after it and support someone who shares at least some of your values.
And isn't Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, now running for mayor of New York City as well, right?
Yes, and I'll just say this. Andrew Cuomo, warts and all, because he is certainly an imperfect person, would probably be the best candidate that's electable in this race for the mayor of New York. I think Maria Bartiromo, who I kind of admire, came out and said she supports Andrew Cuomo. So in spite of his imperfections and the things that he's done in the past, when you look at him and then you look at a guy who is an Islamist and a confirmed socialist, a hardliner, there's no contest. You want Andrew
And we know
Cuomo.
that New York, when it comes to a mayor for that city, is going to vote mostly left. Who knows? Wilder things have happened. But Curtis Sliwa is someone that people really like in New York as well, more on the right side of history. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there in the Big Apple. We hope that, we don't want any infiltration of an ideology that is anti-common sense and we the people, regardless if it has to do with religion or whatever. We just don't want, when it comes to Sharia law, we definitely don't want that kind of thing. But specifically, socialism, communism, Marxism, and on. It's a wild time out there, isn't it, Carla?
It is. I remember Curtis Sliwa. When I was a young professional, I lived in New York City, and he was there, and he had the guardian angels, I think he called them, and they were protecting people, women or vulnerable people when they were out at night. They would have red caps on, and they were really good guys and girls, and they were mostly from minority communities, lower income people that just wanted to bring justice to the streets because New York was very bad when I lived there. But I think actually under the recent leadership, New York has become worse because of the lack of support of victims and the promotion of the criminals and the illegal immigration that's been allowed under President Biden that was welcomed by Kathy Hochul. So let's see what happens in the New York governor's race as well.
Carla Sans, thank you so much for joining us with the America First Policy Institute, former ambassador to President Trump, under President Trump for Denmark. Carla, thanks again. We'll look forward to having you on again.
Thanks, Matthew.
Definitely. Carla Sans joining us live there at 12:16, Thursday, June 19th. A couple things that I was thinking about when Carla was speaking there is the fact that about 50% of our ICE agents are actually Hispanic. And that was an interesting factoid that I heard on Fox the other day with Jesse Waters. Sure, I watch sometimes the other networks, not a lot, because I like straight up tell it like it is and common sense and MAGA all out when it comes to freedom for our country. But anyway, so 50% of ICE agents are actually Hispanic ICE agents. So, they're just doing what they're supposed to do with the deportation situation. But anyway, these conversations can go on for a long time, I'm sure. But we are on a time limit because at 1 o'clock, of course, we're going to have the White House press briefing with Karoline Leavitt. That'll be here live with you. So glad you're streaming in right now. Producer, can you please repeat that? All right, let's go to All Family Pharmacy right now when it comes to a new COVID variant that if you actually look online and you type in COVID variant, this is actually starting to spread fast and people are once again scrambling for treatment and prevention, so you don't have to wait. All Family Pharmacy says to stock up now, of course. All Family Pharmacy is running a summer sale, so 20% off up until the end of this month. You can get 20% off every medication on their website. So everything from ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. Also, there's more than 200 essential medications, daily prescriptions, antibiotics, NAD+, and more. You'll get that doctor prescription included, and it'll be shipped straight to your door. So you can check them out, whether it's for prevention or peace of mind. You'll find exactly what you need to keep on hand and avoid unnecessary doctor visits or urgent care trips later. So it's the easiest way to stay ready. Every household should have a stocked medicine cabinet, and now's the time to do it, of course. You can visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You'll get that 20% off as well. All right, let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as it's 12:18. We can actually go to our donate section of it. So you could text RSBN to that number. So that number's on the screen there. If you'd like, maybe take a photo or a screenshot of the number there, 855-575-7888. It's 855-575-7888. So just text RSBN to that number if you'd like to donate to the network. And then, of course, you can, help us out if you'd like. If it's $1 or if it's more or if it's none, all good. But it is free to watch us, and it takes a little bit of money to do what we do. So, thanks so much for streaming in. Thanks so much for supporting. And again, a shout out to those RSBN moderators on all of our platforms who do a great job there. Whether it's someone asking a question about what time something is or where can I watch the replay or other things that go on there. Thanks so much, moderators, for what you do for this network, as we are a unit, a team, And yeah, on the right side of history here. And looking forward to seeing Karoline Leavitt in about 41 minutes from now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have a couple more live interviews coming up. One will be with Bruce Lavelle. He is an Atlanta businessman. Of course, President Trump would give him a shout out sometimes in Atlanta. I was at a rally there, I believe it was last year, and a longtime friend, Bruce Lavelle. So he'll be joining us at 12:30. At about 12:40, 12:45, conservative analyst and author T.S. Dixon will join us. And I believe possibly Robert McNeely may join me here on set. We'll see. I think he's on his way. He also has a show tonight at 6 o'clock, The Voice of Reason. So that'll be airing tonight at, I believe, 6 Eastern. So a lot to watch here at the network, whether you're watching live or on replay. Thank you so much for doing so, as it is, again, 12:20 Eastern Time. Let's go to President Trump's Truth Social post as we monitor what's going on out there and await the next live interview. Again, 56 minutes ago, if you're just joining us, President Trump said, "I've just signed the executive order extending the deadline for the TikTok closing for 90 days. So that's September 17th, 2025. He says, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." If you'd like to read more on that, that's on Truth Social. Let's double check on X real quick to see if there's any breaking news going on, or we're not hearing anything from our sources here at the network, but also on X, not seeing much in the sense of breaking news at this point. We do see that AZ Intel 4 minutes ago says Israeli airstrikes target several cities in Iran, including Tehran, which of course that's been happening for several days now. So that is the question on everybody's mind. What is the next step? Is there a next step? Is this the negotiator in chief doing really great work in that sense? Or is he going to make a decision to take out the Fordow military spot there in Iran? We don't know. We're watching it when it comes to monitoring all of the developments that are happening, not only in our country, but around the world. All right, so it's 12:21. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network, 1224 Eastern Time. Looking forward to a couple more live interviews. And of course, looking forward to hearing from Karoline Leavitt at 1 o'clock Eastern on this busy day of news. I mean, when we think about the possibilities of what could transpire, well, that's going to be a lot of news or maybe not so much. We'll see. We're going to monitor it all here at Right Side. Of course, still, though, regardless of what the next thing happens or doesn't happen, obviously the Middle East situation right now with Tehran, Tel Aviv, and the surrounding areas when it comes to the airstrikes that have been happening for several days now. We do know President Trump has been in a Situation Room meeting receiving his daily intelligence briefing. So if there's any details out of that meeting, we'll have it for you. Also, Karoline Leavitt, the spokesperson, really, the press secretary, of course, will be taking the podium hopefully within exactly 35 minutes from now. Now, that's obviously a live picture from outside the White House. That's the White House stakeout location where sometimes various people like Stephen Miller or Tom Homan or others would stop by. But we do know that the press briefing will be inside. So as soon as we get that live feed from inside, we'll show that to you as the press gets ready to file in there. And then, of course, we'll hear from Karoline shortly. So Bruce Lavelle will be next up live here on Right Side as we continue to monitor just developments and Truth Social posts from the president. And let's go to a sponsor in the meantime right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including thanking this following sponsor, Bearskin, for providing us these great products right here. All right, so I tried this on the other day. Great stuff. This is the hoodie right here. Now, not only is this hoodie with a patch that you can actually put something on there, Velcro patch, if it storms out, say you're fishing or boating or hiking, that kind of thing, you have something that you can put right on top of it, which is right here. This is the Bearskin on top. So they have a number of different colors that they have available. So all you have to do is unlock 60% off by texting RSBN to 36912. And, you know, I've spent some time out there in the outdoors, not really fishing as much, not boating as much, hiking definitely. But, you know, over the years as a reporter, I was one of those guys that would be on the beach when there's a hurricane hitting. Yeah, I don't know why I did that, but I did. Also, whether it's a blizzard or whether it's a tropical storm, I remember covering something outside of Atlanta for a network that I was working for in Tennessee, and we'd always have to put on this kind of gear. But this gear with this will keep you warm, but also this on top of it really doing a great job of repelling all that rain, just sliding right off you. So this is good stuff, I can tell, and I already tried it on. Good stuff. You can have it too. So all you have to do is unlock that 60% off. Text RSBN to 36912, so 36912. And let me real quick just share with you the different colors. They have stealth black, that was hunter green that you saw. They have navy blue, ocean teal, high vis orange, maybe like this, and high vis yellow. So pretty cool stuff. Bearskin, great sponsor here at Right Side as it's 1228. Let's go to mypillow.com as well, mypillow.com/RSBN. Free with any purchase. With God, all things are possible. Isn't that the truth? So you can get this exclusive special if you just purchase a number of, you know, items on MyPillow. But the thing that's cool is you can purchase one item, and then you'll still get this for free. So you don't have to purchase 30 items. You can just purchase one. But if you have the extra cash to purchase 30, there's more than 2,000 items to check out there at Right Side for mypillow.com. So just use mypillow.com/RSBN as I clear the desk of some of our great products here. We'll talk about Bearskin, I'm sure, again in the near future with just a great product there, and MyPillow as well. All right, so looking live there, that's right outside the West Wing. That's not too far from where the world leaders, when they pull up in the SUVs with the American flag and then with whatever flag that they are representing, whatever country they're representing, it's literally, if the camera is facing that way, it's right behind the camera is the West Wing of the White House, and the Oval Office not too far from there. To, just for fun, inside baseball stuff, this way, if the camera's this way, that way is the James S. Brady press briefing room. That's where Karoline Leavitt and the press will be meeting there in about 31 minutes from now. So that's all happening at this point. as we are now at the bottom of the hour, Thursday, June 19th. Joining us now is a longtime friend of President Trump, an advisor, and also Atlanta businessman, Bruce Lavelle. Bruce, thanks again for joining us from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about a number of things here. We see that the president has a great decision to be made here, which way he's going to go when it comes to the military situation there. Would you like to share a 30,000-foot view on that, or what do you think about what's going on?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And I can tell you this, I pretty much know where his passion lies, and that's peace, number one and foremost. Two, he believes in building relationships for people who ordinarily wouldn't have relationships. You got to remember, the key that makes a lot of folks, should I say, successful is the ability to reconcile and bring relationships together. And that's a gift that President Trump has. Remember, when he was coming into the Oval Office, when Barack Obama was departing, they had that, former president to incoming president talk about, what do you see as the biggest threat? And Obama says North Korea. And President Trump says, well, you ever call and talk to him? He's like, well, no. And so that right there in itself, is, as here in the South, as Dr. King always said, men hate each other because they, quote, don't get to know each other. So I think there's some generations of culture in the historically, unfortunately, in the American government, where President Trump has broken down those barriers on the, quote, typical play-to-play establishment playbook, as you might say, and says, no, we're going to go out there and talk and make a deal. And so that's his primary goal, Matt, is to try to get Iran to a point to look, let's make a deal. Let's get your economy going. Let's get your infrastructure going. Let's get your citizens happy in your country. Let's get something win-win for all. And the last thing he wants to do is to bomb them, or if you might say, is he wants to exhaust all negotiations to the fullest.
Exactly. And, Karoline Leavitt called the president the negotiator in chief a few weeks back. I mean, that's perfect. We know he is the deal maker. He knows that we can get the job done with someone like President Trump, obviously. I mean, we saw the first administration. We see a lot of the wins happening now. Now is a very deciding factor. What's going to happen in the future here when it comes to any U.S. strike? Now, again, we're monitoring it here at the network. So, Bruce, let's shift over to immigration right now. We know that in Los Angeles, and I believe in Atlanta, there may have been some protests, but I've seen L.A., New York, Chicago. Have you heard of anything in Atlanta going on? And also your thoughts about the fact that 50% of these ICE agents are actually Hispanic themselves. I mean, this is not a thing of race. This is actually a thing of law, isn't it?
No, it's interesting. I was going back looking at the reels when Obama was in office and Clinton, and how they were so passionate about enforcing the borders and enforcing legal immigration versus illegal immigration. Matter of fact, I post one of Obama's speeches on my Instagram, going back to so what happened? And so, I think what's happened to a point where anything that the left could stir up to undermine President Trump and undermine the movement, and that can, quote, as you say, as we say, create a lot of noise. This is one of those. So to answer your question, Atlanta, it's been a few little spurts here and there, but nothing large enough that would create havoc in our streets or looting, as you might say, for that matter. I think at the end of the day, the business community, we all know the rules. I have employees. I've been in business for 31 years. I have other business colleagues who own various types of businesses, car washes, convenience stores, gas stations, restaurants, etc. We all know the rules better than anyone in terms of what it takes to employ people in our establishments. We know the laws better than anyone. So I think at the end of the day, it's like everything else. When you create a culture where you turn a blind eye and you don't enforce laws, this is what happens. And so there's a lot of folks out here that are legally that have been working, and yes, they're good, hardworking men and women, but at the end of the day, it's still against the law, Matt. And I'm going to tell you, I had 2 employees. And one thing about me, when you see me come on national TV and I talk about real life experiences. I'm not a talking head. I actually have employed people and ran businesses and ran large infrastructures. And I can tell you that at the end of the day, I know what it takes because I had 2 employees that took 5 to 6 years to go through the pathway legally to become a citizen. So, and interesting enough, those folks are usually the biggest advocates on legal immigration, in terms of, they're jumping the line, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody needs to calm down. And employers, you're watching this. If you knowingly and willingly brought in someone knowing that their paperwork wasn't just, don't get upset because at the end of the day, it is still the law.
Exactly. And so we're looking forward to seeing more of the ICE deportations, more of our country getting cleaned out when it comes to corruption. I was talking with Carla Sans earlier, and it just seems like there's so many departments or there's so many things that still there might be some corruption here or there. That really needs to be cleaned out for our country really to be healthy and saved and on the right path, right?
Yeah, let me touch on the ICE agents because I know a lot. I've served on police boards. I have family members in the federal agency sides that obviously I won't mention. They're judges too. ICE agents are not just going after looking for illegal immigrants. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're quote certified police officers. Okay, they have jurisdictions in all aspects of our society. One thing I like about them is that they're able to go in and identify the sex trafficking and the underage children and the drugs. It's not just about going to find out who came across illegally. That's what people don't understand about the ICE agent. Their scope of work is police business. It's not just, let's go find illegal and get them. No. They have intel. They have informants that work for them about who's the coyotes across our, the list goes on and on. That's why I was very upset with our former Atlanta mayor, who, I don't know, she thinks she's going to run for governor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, and many others, Matt, that were trying to pander to saying we won't support ICE agents. Little do they know that their scope of policing is much more vast.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, because we keep seeing it with the groups, even Antifa trying to, get involved with this. And I think we need to call out these kind of groups if they're going to be causing so many problems out there. Do you think the government should get involved with dismantling even that kind of group when there's chatter online that, hey, there's a bunch of ICE agents over here, that kind of thing? Do you think we should get involved in that way?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm a prodigy of the civil rights movement. My uncles and parents from the generation before that had to fight a domestic terrorist called the KKK. And the federal government did get involved, obviously through civil litigations and lawsuits, et cetera. And many other, listen, I can go back further in Alabama when the laws were put on the books in Arkansas, where the federal government said, no, you can't discriminate these children in these public schools, et cetera. And some of these folks were defiant that were members of those domestic terrorist organizations. So, I think there is a balance and check in all our societies. We want local control, but we want, quote, sensible local control. I always like to correct people with that. Local control is not always just. There always has to be someone that says, hey, I think you're wrong on this. And so historically, I think the federal government can see that what happened with Kenosha, what happened in Seattle. Man, I have business colleagues that were doing business very well in Seattle that was down the street from an autonomous zone, that the whole building got together and moved to Nevada and abandoned the community because the police failed to enforce the laws on the books and allowed, quote, autonomous zones and all kinds of things that was detrimental to the business community. And ladies and gentlemen, people forget that, the business community is 30 million of us in the United States. We make up 62% of the GDP. So when you see people going downtown and other areas to protest, you got to think about the mom and pops that hawk their credit cards, that mortgage their homes, et cetera, to open up their eateries, where you have for days on hand people marching and scaring off all the patrons and all the customers as well as the employees. You got to think deeper into that, what the economic strain that does on the business owner, let alone the community. So at some point, if the locals are trying to pander to these, quote, particular groups, then yes, as President Trump says, I wish I'd have intervened earlier in the first administration. So as soon as he sees the unrest, boom, he immediately dispatches the federal troops, get out there, stop the silliness. And let me tell you something real quick, Matt. show me the business owners that are against this, and I'll give you $1 million.
So true. So true. It's unbelievable to see that. I mean, we're just seeing so much go on right now in this 24/7 news cycle. I mean, let's just back off the such serious stuff. I mean, yesterday the American flag's going up outside the White House. Great to see patriotism continuing on here in this country. But, you know, it's a tough situation, of course, that we're seeing right now with the Situation Room, though, too, with President Trump. Is he going to make a decision to do this or not? And he said yesterday when they were putting up those flags that really, even the Wall Street Journal, he said on Truth Social, he goes, you don't know what my mind is or my thoughts are about this Iran situation. So really, how much more speculation or commentary could there be other than wait and see, stand by, monitor, and then see what happens?
Well, one thing's for sure, and I talked about this on another network yesterday, is thank the Lord that it's not Kamala Harris in the Oval Office, and that particular infrastructure was tied to special interests and pay to play. And I never thought in my lifetime that I would, be a citizen under a president that was compromised, which Joe Biden was. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you how important and critical that is, because you got to remember, what makes people good in government is when they don't owe favors or they didn't take any pay to play. And that's unfortunate what happens in some of our, in Congress as well as Senate, and even locally in some of your cities and municipalities, is that, and I've always said this, Matt, I said this on your show, follow the person and support the person who's the America First person who wants to serve the will of the people, not the will of the special interest and pay to play. And you see that, and that's the good thing about President Trump. He has none of these favors with the military industrial complex. He didn't owe anyone. His goal that made him successful is bridge communities and build communities together. Like he told Kim Jong, remember this, hey, you have beautiful coastlines. Why don't you build some condos? Don't shoot any missiles over there. Why don't you build this and become richer? See, the economics talk and the building and the business building is what gets people's attention. Forget about Democrat, Republican. That's the gift that President Trump has, that most of these bureaucrats who've served in these bureaucratic positions their whole life don't understand the balance sheet or understand the relationship on cultural reconciliation, Matt, in order to be successful. So just a reminder, I know him very well, and I'm going to tell you, just thank the Lord that he's in this spot, because he's not going to be bullied by his military advisors. You need to go get them and blah, blah, blah. No, he's going to go in there. And as far as we know, he could be talking to the Ayatollah on a hotline that we don't even know. We don't know. But I can tell you this, he's going to exhaust. He's going to go to the limit on negotiations before he pushes a button. I guarantee you that.
I hear you loud and clear, the negotiator in chief. And I'm searching through right now President Trump's Truth Social post, because I want to read something here live with you and get your reaction before we move on. From Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, this text message to President Trump that President Trump posted on Truth Social. Mm-hmm. And then if you can react to this last point here, Mike Huckabee saying to Donald Trump, Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania, to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders, I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters, his voice. I am your appointed servant in this land, and I'm available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. This is from Mike Huckabee to President Trump. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to you to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job, this is, again, Mike Huckabee to President Trump, is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you. That from Mike Huckabee just a couple days ago, President Trump posting that Truth Social post, that text directly from the U.S. ambassador to Israel to President Trump. Bruce, your thoughts about that?
Well, I know Mike, I'm a little biased. He comes from the clergy side. He was a minister, and then he came over into the political side. And of course, he ran for governor 2 terms, very successful. Of course, he ran for president. I'm very close to his daughter, Sarah. We text occasionally and check in. That's true. And I think at the end of the day, and I think I shared with you, some of your viewers, back in 15, when we were congregating on the 26th floor of his big conference room and had various faith-based leaders across the country trying to see who this Donald Trump is. We had the Baptists, the Southern Baptists, the Presbyterians, the Methodists, all the Catholics. We had them all in the room, and they were trying to scratch their head figuring this guy out. And I remember those 3 pastors that spoke prophetically, and viewers, check this out. And one prophesied at this golden moment, and my wife was present because she never goes to these events, but she was there to be the witness. We all know what happened with that. Is that the prophecy is like, I believe God's going to put you as president, and you are. I had a scripture, Isaiah 45, and it said a story about King Cyrus. So Mike understands where this is moving. A lot of us believers understand this. We're not trying to make President Trump out to be some kind of martyr or anything like that. These are things that happen because God does use a lot of us in different ways that you might not understand. Like, well, he talks funny, Lord, or he looks different, but we have to get back to our believers that every one of those characters in the Word were very interesting characters, if you might say. We would look at them and shut the door on a lot of those folks, Paul and John and all those many others that were in there. So I like to say that this is part of that great movement that's going on. This is the season of exposure. You and I talked about this on your network. A lot of darkness is coming to the light. There is a Control-Alt-Delete, a great reformation rising upon the great world. But more so than anything, I always said, if you see me or if you see me panicking, that's when you panic, which is very rare. I will say that, Matt. But I'll tell you this is the time to a reflection and find out where you are in your relationship with God. This is the time when the unrest of the lands of war, and the Bible does speak about wars and rumors of wars. It's very clear in the Gospels. But this is more so than anything is like, okay, where am I at in my relationship? What do I need to be doing? And that's the most important part. And that's what gives me peace. That's what President Trump has in his heart. I know him. We've actually talked about this. Jensen Franklin and I are good friends. We talk about this all the time. It's like, okay, so what are you doing? Okay, we hear the noise over here, but what are you doing? And so this is something that I like to reflect to the viewers, to always remind them that, always, as my grandmother always said, she knew that Bible back and forth, man. She said, baby, pray for others and save yourself.
Amen. And let's close with this scripture. Speaking of the Bible, John 16:33, Jesus said, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. John 16:33. Great stuff, isn't it, Bruce?
Yep. Amen, brother. I appreciate you.
You too.
And I am the truth and the light.
Amen. We could have a whole Bible.
Hey, I talk about that all day long.
Yeah, we're about to have a Bible study here.
Yeah.
All right, man. Bruce, thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Definitely. All right, 12:47, Thursday, June 19th. Always good to talk about those kind of things that are so serious to the core of this country, the Bible, the Constitution. As we take that live look there, as you've been seeing for quite some time now in the past few minutes, the live press briefing room. So right now we can go to All Family Pharmacy as well, one of our great sponsors here at Right Side. Of course, a new COVID variant starting to spread out there, so you don't have to wait. You can stock up now. All Family Pharmacy is running a summer sale. You can get 20% off every medication on their website through June 30th. They carry more than 200 essential medications, including ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, all sorts of prescriptions, antibiotics, NAD+. So what you'll do is you'll get the doctor prescription included, and it'll be shipped directly to your door. So you can check them out, whether it's for prevention or peace of mind. You'll find exactly what you need to keep on hand and avoid unnecessary doctor visits or urgent care trips. It's the easiest way to stay ready. Every household should have a stocked medicine cabinet, and now's the time to do it. Of course, all you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You see the information there on your screen. You can protect your IRA or 401k with gold or silver, and it's 100% tax-free. So The best step, I think, right now is you can just use the QR code right there. Get to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. All you have to do is when you put your address in there, they'll send you that free info kit on gold and silver. Always good to have that option there. So gold and silver as a backup, and also to put your money in there if you'd like for protecting your IRA and your 401k with gold. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Okay, so it is 12:49, Thursday, June 19th. Joining us in just a minute will be T.S. Dixon, the conservative analyst and author. Always good to have as part of some insight to the show. He's been on a few times, so we'll look forward to that as we're looking live there at the White House press briefing room. About 10 minutes out from the press briefing scheduled start time. Sometimes, as you guys know, it starts a little bit later. If it does, we will be standing by with you as we await that. So let's go now to T.S. Dixon, conservative analyst and author. I don't see him yet on the screen, so we'll keep going until we do. Yeah, we don't see the video there. The video is not open on the on that end. But anyway, so 12:50, about 10 minutes out, Thursday, June 19th, as we get ready to hear again from Karoline Leavitt, who will be speaking at about 1 o'clock, the president in the Situation Room right now. So we do know that, of course, we'll have the entire press briefing for you, as this is something, of course, if you'd like to share with your friends and family, you can via your links for Rumble and others that you're watching for the various social media platforms. Okay, let's try it again. 12:51, Thursday, June 19th. Let's go to T.S. Dixon, the conservative analyst and author. Sir, thank you again for joining us on Right Side. Talk to us about, I don't know, whatever you want at this point. I mean, 30,000-foot view. We know there's a lot going on with Israel and Iran. There's a lot going on in our country. How do you see things playing out? What's some insight that you'd like to share?
Well, I think, this is a very interesting turn of events. It's obviously divided the movement on the right that are Trump's main support base. And, there's a good reason for that. I think half of the coalition just inherently trust Trump. They trust Israel, Netanyahu, and any of our allies. They just inherently trust our allies. And they see it as the good guys versus the bad guys. And when they're told by the media, by the intelligence agencies and Netanyahu that Iran definitely is close to having a nuclear weapon, and that's a huge threat, we need to do something about it, they're fully on board. The other side, the other camp, just has a very low level. One in the war machine, which came and gave us a similar message about Iraq and Afghanistan, especially Iraq. They've got weapons of mass destruction. He's developing a nuclear program. We have to invade and defeat and depose Saddam Hussein. And it was disastrous for our country, disastrous for our military, disastrous for Europe, who had to take all these migrants, which has devastated Europe. And we did the same thing in Libya, in Syria, Afghanistan. And it's just been 20 years of chaos in the Middle East and these regime change wars. And so there's very low trust in that. There's very low trust in the CIA and the intelligence agencies that targeted Donald Trump, his elections, his candidacies, his presidencies, and they're now feeding us this information. And then there's a lot of low trust in Netanyahu, who has been doing some questionable things. He's had a major investigation into corruption charges. He's facing jail time, as many prime ministers have in Israel in the past. And then there's the questions about the military stand down on October 7th and what his true motivations are for these major military actions at this time. And so the rest of the coalition is just very much dubious about these three sources of information. And so there's a low trust level. I would say that there's another angle on this that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. Trump is the great reformer. He's the anti-establishment hero of the people. He's the populist leader. And so because he's attacking the foundations and the pillars of the establishment and bringing them down in many ways, you see things like CNN crumbling and these other institutions crumbling after he's through with them. They have to retaliate, but they can't retaliate at him directly. They have to be covert about their actions. And so we saw in the first presidency this questionable release of a virus at a Wuhan, U.S.-China viral lab in China, in Wuhan, China, and the results of that, which really devastated the economy with the shutdowns and devastated his presidency. This time around, what we're hearing from this same establishment group, like Alex Karp, who, this past week a lot of people weren't aware, but they were meeting in Europe at the annual Bilderberger meeting, which is basically, it's the board meeting for the current establishment. And so Alex Karp was quoted to the New York Times saying that in not too long in the future, the U.S. is going to be in a three-front war with Russia, Iran, and China. And so, in my opinion, if they're saying that from this coalition and this is the strategy, then it's very possible that that we're being duped into this. We're being lured into this conflict, and I think we need to be very aware of that possibility, that risk.
So when we're looking at both sides of the coin here, again, generally speaking, one side says we know that the Ayatollahs there, that this is they love Sharia law, they hate America, they hate Israel, they have these nuclear weapons, or they're trying to enrich that at Fordo in the mountain, so the bunker busting bombs with the United States military dropping them from the B-2s because Israel doesn't have that, or on the other side of it, it's, hey, this is a war, this is the free world we're talking about here. We don't want to get involved in another long war and all these different things that I'm hearing. So I'm just reporting what I'm hearing from both sides.
Sure.
So where do you stand, TS? Let's just be straight up about it. You have freedom of speech, go for it.
It's funny because I sympathize with Trump's position. He obviously has more information than we have. And understandably, we doubt that some of the intelligence he's getting is correct or trustworthy because of the past and because they've targeted him in the past. They have ulterior motives on some level. So it's tough. It's a tough call. And, this is what leadership comes down to, is making tough calls. And Trump's never afraid to make a tough decision if he believes it's the right decision. And so we'll see. He's not a warmonger or a war hawk, but he's also not a pacifist, and he's not afraid to protect America and keep us safe. We saw this with the ISIS strikes, the Moab strike, Soleimani and whatnot. He is not afraid to use the military for tactical precision missions. However, will Trump get us into a long, drawn-out ground war? I doubt it. I hope not. The concern is that right now it's a fight between Israel and Iran, and we're supporting our ally. I think that that's pretty safe. Israel desperately wants us to come in and participate in the violence and attack directly. If we directly attack Iran, which is a country of 92 million people with a vast military capability, vast amount of long-range missiles and different weaponry, if we attack them directly, they're going to attack our ships and our bases, and then we are in direct warfare. And we've had a bad history of this for the last 20 years, and it was well known that they were on a list of 7 countries that Israel tactically wanted to undermine, destabilize, and do regime change. And they've been successful in getting us to participate in the regime changes and the destabilization of these other 6 countries. And now this is the final one to complete that mission. This really hasn't been good for the country. So I think you have to weigh both sides. I trust Trump. If there really are nukes there and it truly is a threat, he'll get it done.
I hear you. Producer, can you please repeat? Can you hold TS for a second?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so it's 12:58. We've got a couple minutes yet until Karoline Leavitt may be taking the podium there. Sometimes it's a little bit late, so if it is, TS will keep you on the broadcast. Can you talk to us about outside of this specific situation of the Iran-Israel war and all of that, like the 30,000-foot view of what's going on right now in the country? I mean, we see domestically ICE agents doing mass deportations. We see that the same old Antifa groups are trying to rile up the woke mind people. What do you think the solution is to where the ideologies are coming from, and what's the best case scenario? What should we really do as the American people?
I really feel that the focus of the conservative movement and the Trump presidency should be on balancing the budget and reforming the federal government. I mean, these really are his two major mandates. And by reforming, that includes the deportations, that includes the wall, that includes all of those agenda items. But really, we need to balance the budget, we need to cut spending, and we need to reform the government. And at this point in his reform, we really need to be on step 4 of the federal reforms, which is, the administration of justice, the investigations into criminality, into government corruption of the past, and then adjudication of that, punishment of that. And so if that step doesn't happen, then there's really no consequence for corruption in the first place. And so as soon as, this group is out of power or can be undermined and the left gets back into power, the corruption will resume, but it'll resume even worse than before because they'll never want to lose power again or risk that. And so really we have this precious amount of time before the midterms and the next election to complete the reforms. And he's been doing a great job, a AAA++ job. However, we need to complete that work. And so that really comes down to the Attorney General, the Director of National Intelligence, the Director of the FBI, and the special investigators that need to do great work and go and hunt down the corruption. I mean, they're doing good work when it comes to regular crime or the crime of the average citizenry crime. But what this movement is out to discover and uncover is the crime of government officials, the corruption of government officials, and then accountability for that, legal accountability for that. That's so crucial. If you look in El Salvador and other countries where this was done correctly, these reforms will be lasting. And the anti-corruption narrative is such a powerful narrative and so in the interest of the whole country. But you still have the boiling over of the left versus the right. The left hasn't gone anywhere. Woke hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there fomenting. This is a belief system, a political religion on the left now. And they're forced to be reckoned with. We saw the No Kings protests. We saw the riots in LA recently. And if we do our job right, all these protests and riots will do is continue to turn the stomachs of the average American citizens in the center and say, these people can never be in power again. They'll not just burn down California, but they'll burn down the whole country.
Exactly. So we see the reformation of the country happening, but to your point, the justice being served for those that broke the law, specifically over the past, 4 years and beyond. Carla Sans actually brought up this point as well. So to your point, I think MAGA hears you, I hear you, and we want to have all the corruption to be gone out of this country. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're really looking to have. But let's go one more step further as we're about to go to Karoline Leavitt here in a minute. What's the root that you believe is, I know it's good and evil, but how does that come out into the ideologies up to the surface?
In our era, and in every era, but it's most pronounced now, ideology is everything. And so you have to get down to the root beliefs of different groups, different factions, of support groups like voter bases, and also of ideologues and leaders of movements. And so now more than ever, we must understand, in our own country, what liberals, the woke, globalists like, Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and those at Bilderberg, what they believe, and then what we believe as Americans, for Americanism, constitutionalism, conservatives, capitalists, what we believe, what is our ideology, because that's the source of everything. And really, a lot of the good and evil that we see in countries and groups and in individuals stems out of their ideology. So if you have evil beliefs, a lot of times then your behavior, your actions, your goals will be evil. But if you have good beliefs and good ideology, then your outcomes, your behavior will be good. It's much of our behavior is driven by our belief system and even the rules that we believe. Now we're being pulled and lured into these conflicts overseas, and so then it becomes imperative we understand what the Israelis believe, what Netanyahu's coalition, this government coalition believe, and then what the Ayatollahs believe, because ideology is also at the root of that conflict.
It's a lot to take in. T.S. Dixon, sir, thank you for joining us. Just before you go, any words of advice moving forward for the people that are watching right now all across this country, in some cases around the world. And I value your insight, because every time you've been on this broadcast, you spit truth, and we are a common sense network here, and you have the freedom of speech to do that. So just before I let you go, just any final words to the people that are watching?
Yeah, I would say, Trump will make the determination if a surgical strike is necessary in this conflict, or if we just need to support our ally as they engage in a conflict they deem is necessary to the security of their state. However, I think a ground war, a long, drawn-out war with Iran, is beyond a huge mistake. It needs to be avoided at all costs, and it will weaken us. And then it will be much more tempting for China to then pursue their military objectives in Taiwan, which will then draw us into yet a third conflict around the world and further weaken and spread out our forces and our money and our focus, instead of focusing here on the reforms and sustaining and growing America, which makes for a better world. So that's what I would say. That's my take.
And I hear you. I do have a more of a sincere question about when we look at President Trump's surgical strikes on the Houthis or on ISIS, and it's that, I mean, these are surgical strikes. If you look at the video, this vehicle is driving along, and if this person's in the left side of the car, that is exactly getting hit, nothing else. Now, when you look at Iran and Fordo and the mountain area and these bunker busting bombs, is this the same thing? Is it just a surgical strike and then let it go and be like, okay, we did our job, see you later? Or is this, if that happens, will that mean, okay, now the government is toppled, do we go there? To be honest, I don't know the answers. So can you help clarify a little bit?
Yeah, it hasn't worked thus far in any country where we've tried to depose the leader, the dictator, and then install our own government or try to institute elections. It has not worked in any country where that's been attempted. Most recently, the Turkey and Israeli government supported the installation of a new leader in Syria after Bashar al-Assad fled to Russia. But that new leader was the head of al-Qaeda and also one of the key leadership members of ISIS. So we'll see how that played out. He's already instituted the genocide of minority groups,
right,
of Christians and Alawite Muslims.
No, and so, I hear you. But to interject a little bit, we know that we haven't heard from President Trump saying he's looking for a regime change in Iran. I'm just talking about specifically, is this like a surgical strike to the Houthis, the surgical strike to take out somebody that's the lead of ISIS, and then also, hey, Fordo, the mountain area where the Iran military site is, a surgical strike in the sense of bunker busting bombs, and then you pull back and then that's it, and there's no other ties from there. Is that what we're looking at here?
If he can successfully do that without them striking our bases or sinking any of our ships in that region, which would most likely then draw us into all-out war with them, that is the challenge that he faces. That's the risk. If he does, this is not a small country or a country that's not well armed. They have missiles, underground missile cities. So their capabilities are vast. I don't know that we fully understand their capabilities. If he makes that determination and can't get the leader back to the negotiating table to do some sort of a deal, and he determines that that's necessary, I would say that needs to be the limit of that. He wouldn't say that, right? You don't say this is as far as we're going to go. This is just bad military command, but I would say he knows more than anyone. He was one of the biggest critics of Iraq and Afghanistan in the Bush administration, that you don't suck us into these long drawn-out wars, especially, really the group that Trump is fighting, that is desperately trying to cling on to life and stop him, is the Western establishment. That's the group that's after him. And if he needs to focus on that enemy and defeating them and reforming the United States, which will have a ripple effect throughout the West. We're already seeing these effects on Britain, Germany, and other Western countries. And so that's the real enemy is the Western establishment. And they would love nothing more than to continue to deviate him away to these other overseas boogeymen and then draw us into years-long conflicts with them, which will ensure the continuation of their dominance over Western civilization. Absolutely.
So to your point,
I think that's what we have to keep in mind.
To your point, you're saying then basically arrests need to be made for those that broke the law, that are within the deep state or globalist against our country, and are really,
if they've committed crimes, if there's been crimes, yes.
of course, and,
Absolutely.
and for our country to be made healthy again as well, without the corruption that's deep. Man, T.S. Dixon, thanks so much for your insight and analysis. T.S. Dixon, a conservative analyst and author, thank you again for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thanks, Matt.
Powerful words there by T.S. Dixon at 1:09 Thursday, June 19th. A lot of insight. It's always good to, again, articulate how you're thinking, how you're feeling, and to be able to articulate that. And that's why we love people like President Trump, Stephen Miller, Karoline Leavitt. We want to get understanding. We want to get context. We don't want to just see that and not see that. That awareness is over here. We need to have all of that scope. So that's why I like having T.S. Dixon and others on, like Carla Sans, Bruce Lavelle. It was great to start out the broadcast with RSBN host Megan Kohler as well, as this is the press conference that we've been waiting for. This is 10 minutes after 1 o'clock on the East Coast. Thanks so much for streaming in wherever you're watching right now. We're not playing TV here, to be honest with you. We are playing nothing other than common sense and being on the right side of history for our country, for the future of this nation, for freedom, the Constitution, our old glory. You know, again, remember all of those rallies that we covered here at the network, all that excitement and passion and devotion for the American ground, the American soil, our nation, the American flag, for President Trump, for MAGA. All of that is still in play here at Right Side and in conservative media. We're still based in all of that, the Bible, Constitution, all of it. So that's not something you're going to hear from the mainstream networks, and I don't care, because the mainstream networks have lied to us for years. Not only just lied to you, but lied to me. I thought it was a certain way back in the day, and now I've learned, and so have you, a lot of you. That's why we call it waking up. And I think that's what we've been doing, waking up a lot. And it's good to have the truth on your side, or be on the side of truth. It's a good train to be on. So 1:11 Thursday, June 19th. Looking forward to seeing Karoline Leavitt. Looking forward to hearing any details about this Situation Room meeting that has been going on. At least it started at 11:30 Eastern. I don't know if it ended at this point. I haven't been monitoring every social media account out there, but I do know that at 11:30, according to the president's schedule, that there was a Situation Room meeting, a daily intelligence briefing. Usually that briefing happens in the Oval Office, this time happening at the Situation Room. This is the, I believe, third Situation Room meeting in this week alone. And it's still not the end of the week. We still have tomorrow, of course, and Saturday, technically. So President Trump being at the Situation Room a lot this week. It'll be interesting to hear what Karoline Leavitt has to say on this opening statement monologue. Will it be all about Iran, Israel, the United States? We'll see. I'm sure she'll be talking about that. I'm sure there's plenty of questions about it, as this is a time that we are together to stand by and to see what is the decision will be made by the Commander-in-Chief, the one that we all voted for. And when I say we all, I mean just the majority of the nation, just like we did in 2016, just like we did in 2020, and just like we did in 2024. What a time that was. Always fun to remember, November 5th, 2024. So now it's crunch time. You know, we're only 4-something months into this administration. This is a big decision. And President Trump saying on Truth Social about the Wall Street Journal not too long ago, he said, quote, let me get right to it, the Wall Street Journal has no idea what my thoughts are concerning Iran. That's all he said, with an exclamation point. So the Wall Street Journal has no idea what my thoughts are concerning Iran. President Trump posted that 4 hours ago. So it's a waiting game. We're going to be here with you, whether it's on the channel live, whether it's online on X or on Truth Social or Facebook or our website or app. Thanks so much for being a part of this. This is, you know, we've done a lot of historic coverage here at Right Side since 2015 until this day and into the future. It's a lot of broadcasts, and it's a lot of you that have been loyal to this company and to this network. And to remember that this has been and will always be, I hope, and I believe it will be, grassroots. It started grassroots. And that's what it's about. It's from the ground up. It's from us being like, hey, we're we the people. We want to see President Trump's speeches in its entirety. We want to see the entire crowd, in these various live videos. To show the crowd is actually reporting in a way, because if you don't show the crowd, if you just showed the few people behind the speaker, right? And mainstream media, they always kept it the tight shot. Not at Right Side. We said, hey, look at this. There's something happening, and it's 2015, and this guy doesn't sound like the rest of them did. Here we are in 2025. So big decision to be made. We'll see what happens, and obviously Karoline Leavitt will be coming out there to the podium here any minute from now. Just like you guys, we're all standing by to hear what she has to say. This isn't, to me, as a journalist, just a typical press conference, even though every press briefing is historic because of, again, what President Trump overcame over the years and standing for us. But obviously a very serious situation when it comes to Tehran and Tel Aviv, and possibly involvement with our country further in the sense of, will there be a strike there by our United States military? That's President Trump's decision. We all have our different thoughts on it, I'm sure, across the country. But I'm here to report what we hear from Karoline Leavitt, and of course, anything that comes out of that Situation Room from President Trump, as it is 1:15 now Eastern Time, Thursday, June 19th. I'm going to check Truth Social. I don't see any latest posts from the president at this hour. Let's go now to a report from the Gateway Pundit talking about a story here. We'll get to that in a minute, actually. The White House posting Marine One rises, the sky salutes. A pretty cool picture out there that the White House posted about 25 minutes ago. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, saying, quote, "I'm proud to announce with Secretary Kennedy and the NIH Director that the Trump administration is launching a program to study long-term health effects of the chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio, and help residents access the care they need. East Palestine, we will never forget you." And of course, we saw President Trump and the Vice President there in East Palestine, right across the border, really, from Pennsylvania, not too far from that border, from that terrible spill that happened, not too long ago. So the Vice President's still keeping his eyes on that, of course, being from that state of Ohio. And if you missed it, we did talk some Ohio politics earlier. We know Vivek Ramaswamy running for governor there. Obviously, Bernie Moreno winning in this past election. J.D. Vance from Ohio, of course, the Vice President. We also spoke about Florida politics, seeing that Byron Donalds, of course, running there for president. So, again, any breaking news that we get, we'll pass it along to you here as we are awaiting Karoline to step up to the podium there and to talk about the various topics that we've been talking about here for the past couple hours. If you've joined us since 11 this morning, thanks so much for streaming in. This is obviously a serious time, and we'll have more of the specifics from Karoline here at any minute from now. All right, so let me double check a couple things, including the fact that President Trump, at this point, the schedule is still for him to attend the NATO summit in the Netherlands on June 24th to the 26th. That's the future schedule that we're seeing right now. So, of course, the 24th is just next week. So as of this point, we haven't heard that is canceled for any reason. So the NATO summit in the Netherlands, June 24th to the 26th. And then we'll hear what Karoline has to say if there's any more specifics about any other future trips into the month of July. Speaking of July, on the way to the 249th birthday for our country, of course, on July 4th. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to any kind of event that's happening. I'm sure if there's an event involving President Trump, we'll be covering it here at the network, just like we did for the 250th birthday party for the United States Army, where there were millions of viewers, literally, that streamed that broadcast right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, whether watching live or on replay. Speaking of streaming, let me go to my Truth Social account. If you'd like to follow on Truth, I'm on Truth. I'm not on X currently. Maybe I'll get on X someday, but I'm on Truth. And I said here, or I posted an article from Nielsen. Now, I'm not sure, if that's the only place to monitor, ratings, but Nielsen says streaming, the only way we do what we do here is right here live. Streaming reaches historic TV milestone, eclipses combined broadcast and cable viewing for the first time. Hoorah! That's awesome. So live streaming, that's what we're doing right here. And a lot of places, they're deciding to do that because that's what, personally, it's common sense. It's kind of like it's easier just to be like, let's turn that streaming on. And it's just an easier situation to be involved in when you watch various networks. Hopefully someday we'll be able to, continue to expand even here at the network. We have some great places that we air right now, of course. Rumble, for those of you that follow the Rumble channel, thanks so much for doing so. Also, if you'd like to watch any of the interviews that we just did, and I know that sometimes you say, well, no, I'll just watch Carolyn, which is great, of course, because she's going to be speaking here in just a minute. But the recent interviews we just did, including with T.S. Dixon, Carla Sans, Bruce Lavelle, Megan Kohler, some good insight and some good analysis on what we're dealing with in this country right now and with the situation overseas. So, we're going to be having that on replay, or if you'd like to scrub back and check it out. But I don't know if you want to do that this second because I believe, just to guess, about a minute from now, we'll see Karoline Leavitt there at the podium. So we'll see if I'm right in the next 60 seconds or not. It's just a guess. Maybe there's intuition involved, who knows. But anyway, the big question in everyone's mind, will the United States use military force in Iran or not? And that's something that, again, will Karoline speak about that here momentarily? Who knows? I believe something like that may come directly from the president. We don't know the specifics because we're rolling with it just like you are, on standby as it's now 20 minutes after 1 o'clock. We've been live since 11 this morning. Again, for those of you that are watching that are able to maybe send a link of this broadcast to your friends and family literally right now. If you want to play your part seriously in conservative media and say, stop watching the junk that's on the left side of the aisle where it's been lies and false narratives for years that are against we the people, against literally against God, against the Bible, against the Constitution, against all of us. Because there's still, friends and family that still watch some of those other networks out there. I'm not talking about conservative media. I'm just talking about the left-wing legacy junk that's out there. You can do a favor for, obviously I work here, but it's a favor for everybody in conservative media because you're helping bring people to a place that has way more common sense, way more of the truth, standing on the right side of history as we do here at this network. So so if you want to send that link over and just say, hey, watch the Karoline Leavitt press conference. Is she going to talk about Iran and Israel? Or is she going to talk about the ICE deportations? What questions will some of the fake news press there? They're all colleagues. You still have to be respectful human to human. I get that. But still, there are conservative media representatives there, which is great. But still, we want truth. I know that all of you are sick and tired of anything that has nothing to do with common sense and truth. And so, is anybody perfect? No. Is any network perfect? There's nothing that's perfect other than Jesus, in my opinion. God, that kind of thing. But outside of that, all of us together as a family unit called the free world. Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter where you're from. What it matters is, are you part of the free world? Do you want that? And I believe people in China, I believe the people in Venezuela, I believe the people in Hungary and Belgium and Switzerland and Israel and Iran and everywhere around the world that are part of the free world that just say, hey, I'm just a person that was born here. I don't want my government dictating over me what I can or cannot say or do, that kind of thing. It's the whole Gadsden flag. Do not tread on us or do not tread on me. All right, anyway. I'll try not to go on too much of a roll here as that might be Karoline Leavitt, maybe. So we do know, again, one thing I'd like to note that before the press briefings, and this was thanks to Margot Martin there at the White House, she posted a video showing Karoline Leavitt and the Office of Communications at the White House. They pray right before they go out to that podium. And that's awesome because, when you honor God and you give him the praise or you give him or ask him, hey, help me, please. It's better than really doing things on your own, to be honest. Yes, we have to have the balance of both, prayer and hard work. It's not just God. We still have to do our part. But when you combine that, right? And so that's what's cool about what Karoline does. She takes her talent and her abilities and ask God, hey, can you bless this? Can you help me to go and do this? Because she and that team and most of the people there, they have that White House faith office. It's awesome. And if you don't believe in certain things or whatever, the point is, if you believe in conservatism or freedom, that's really what, at the core of all this, is what this on the political side is about. So that's what we're looking to expand here at Right Side, is freedom, you know, and really stand for the truth and for freedom. Anyway, all right, 1:24 Eastern. We are monitoring the latest out of the Situation Room, if there's any details that come out of that. Again, President Trump at 11:30 Eastern, that public schedule was that he was meeting there with the National Security Council, of course, the Vice President, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and on. And then we also know that at about 2:30 today, the President's actually participating, according to the public schedule, in the swearing-in ceremony for the ambassador to the Republic of Ireland. That'll be in the Oval Office. It says closed press on the public schedule, so we'll most likely that stays closed, where we don't get a live feed, or nobody gets a live feed of it. There may be a playback or a recording that we can upload to our sites, including Rumble. And then, of course, the 1 o'clock that was scheduled and is scheduled for any minute from now. So we're about 25 minutes into it. Standing by with you guys. Thanks so much again for watching, wherever you're watching, whatever state you're watching from right now or listening from right now. Thanks for being a part of this, because we are doing this together. If you're on the right side of history and on the freedom side of things, and you know, common sense and all that, hey, you're one of us. If you're not part of that, welcome to watch. Welcome to see what this is all about. And if you would join us in the sense of freedom, which is the majority of the country, that's what's pretty wild about this. The majority of America are just all of us, common sense people that want to work hard or want to enjoy our lives, want to go on a vacation, want to raise our families, want to have our freedoms that we do. And that is the massive majority, I believe, of this nation are on that side. And unfortunately, there have been a lot of brainwashing going on. So you can call us a detox network if you'd like, because we're detoxing from all the false narrative junk that we've been told by all of these media people over the years. How about the entertainment industry, or big tech back in the day, or the education system? Not every teacher, but you know, a lot of teachers. How about professors? Not every professor, but a lot of professors just pouring in that fake junk and indoctrinating everything that is anti-human, anti-God, anti-Constitution, right? It's all for depopulation or controlling the masses or pushing a ideology that is just not what is natural. It's anti-natural. Anyway, I'm trying not to go on a tangent here. I'm really looking to stand by here and wait for Karoline Leavitt. But we did interview 4 great people. Again, if you'd like to watch, you can just scrub back and check them out. Including the latest interview with T.S. Dixon, conservative analyst and author. Really broke it down. To be honest with you, I wouldn't advise, I'm not going to say I advise you to do something, but if you really want to get a good feel of the options of what's going on out there in the world, go ahead and scrub back after this press briefing and listen to T.S. Dixon's analysis. There's Karoline Leavitt. Let's go to D.C. right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. President Trump's powerful efforts to secure our homeland are working. According to newly released numbers, last month, Border Patrol saw a 93% decrease of illegal aliens crossing the southwest border between ports of entry from May 2024 under Joe Biden, when they encountered more than 117,000 illegal aliens. And this particular statistic is absolutely astounding. In the month of May, under the Trump administration, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country by Border Patrol. Let me say that again. Not a single illegal alien was released into the interior of the United States of America last month under this administration. Let's contrast that to Joe Biden's failed leadership, where immigration officers were wasting their finite time and resources processing dangerous illegal aliens for release into the United States. President Trump immediately terminated that reckless Biden-era practice that undermined the rule of law, jeopardized public safety and our national security, and diverted critical resources away from stopping deadly drugs and violent criminals from entering our country. That's the reason why not a single illegal alien was released into the interior of the United States in the month of May. And as a result, we now have a border that is reaching unprecedented levels of operational success. The efforts by President Trump to stop the illegal immigrant invasion and secure the border in this short amount of time represent one of the greatest achievements by a presidential administration in the history of our great country. With illegal entries being overwhelmingly halted, the Trump administration is dramatically ramping up efforts to arrest and deport all of the millions of criminal illegal aliens that Joe Biden let into our country over the past 4 years. President Trump has directed all of our ICE officers to do everything in their power to carry out the single largest mass deportation operation in history. Illegal criminals who are hiding in America's largest so-called sanctuary cities will be increasingly targeted for removal. Radical Democrats will no longer be allowed to shelter illegals who threaten public safety as part of their cynical efforts to expand political power, drain the American taxpayer, and artificially lower wages and steal American jobs. ICE officers are courageous heroes, upholding the rule of law and keeping our citizens safe. And they have the full and unwavering support of this president. In economic news, President Trump's pro-growth agenda is delivering for the American worker. Through the first 5 months of the Trump administration, real blue-collar wages are up nearly 2%. It's the strongest growth in nearly 60 years and a stark contrast from the negative wage growth seen during the first 5 months of the Biden administration. America is quickly returning to the successful formula of the first Trump administration: low inflation and rising wages. Once the big, beautiful bill is passed, this positive trend will only accelerate. Senate Republicans are continuing to push this critical legislation forward. The One Big Beautiful Bill will drive growth and supercharge the American economy. The Council of Economic Advisors found that the One Big Beautiful Bill will raise take-home pay by nearly $14,000 for a year for the average family of 4. The CEA also found that the One Big Beautiful Bill will increase wages as much as $11,000 for the average worker in America. The One Big Beautiful Bill expands the child tax credit and makes it permanent for more than 40 million families with children. And the bill will deliver no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and substantial tax cuts for our incredible seniors. Simply put, the One Big Beautiful Bill is a massive win for middle-class Americans. When nearly 80 million Americans sent President Trump back to this White House, they were doing so expecting these popular policies to be enacted. Republicans in Congress have a mandate to deliver, and President Trump demands they send this historic bill to his desk for signature by Independence Day, July 4th. The American people are fully behind President Trump. According to brand new polling from Insider Advantage, a clear 54% majority of Americans approve of the job President Trump is doing. That's because this president is keeping his promises and taking action every day to improve their lives. And passing this bill will help fulfill a number of President Trump's core campaign promises. Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today. So we'll kick it off for questions here in our new media seat. We have Eli Lake from the Free Press. Eli, go ahead. And great.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
The Free Press. The decision to extend the, delay in enforcing the TikTok ban.
Sure.
Can you talk about how the White House understands its constitutional authority in light of the Supreme Court's decision in January that said that the president had to enforce the ban?
Sure. Well, as all of you know, because the president put it out on his Truth Social today, he did sign an executive order to extend the TikTok ban for 90 days. So in the effort to make a deal. And the White House counsel and the Department of Justice have reviewed this executive order, and I can get it for you. I think it's on our website by now. If it's not, my team will now put it up immediately. And you can read the language in that executive order. And the White House counsel counsel's office and the Department of Justice strongly believe in the legal rationale for this executive order. They wouldn't have the president's pen hit it if they didn't. And the political reasoning for this, of course, is because the president made a promise to keep TikTok on. There are 100 million Americans who use this app. It's wildly popular. He also wants to protect Americans' data and privacy concerns on this app, and he believes we can do both things at the same time. So he's making an extension so we can get this deal done.
Can I get a follow-up?
Sure.
A few weeks ago, Tucker Carlson reported on a meeting between the president, Mark Levin, and others at the White House. Is there a leak investigation, and can you say who else was in that meeting?
I'm not aware of a leak investigation at this time. I, for one, do not reveal details about the president's private meetings without his permission to do so. But certainly the president does not like when people leak. He takes that very seriously. This entire administration takes that seriously, and that's why you've seen at agencies some of the cabinet secretaries have been given the authority by the president to let go of staff who are engaged in such leaks, especially those that risk American national security. Sure. Go ahead.
Caroline, thank you. So, Rhino warmonger Lindsey Graham, he recently called on the U.S. to go all in.
That's quite the lead to a question.
Right. What's your message to everyday Trump supporters? Not the Tucker Carlsons or other big names, but everyday Trump supporters, grassroots who voted for President Trump to stop the wars, rejected this in the primary, going into another war, but voting against Nikki Haley, and they want to see non-U.S. involvement in this war. What's your message?
Trust in President Trump. President Trump has incredible instincts, and President Trump kept America and the world safe in his first term as president in implementing a peace through strength foreign policy agenda. And with respect to Iran, nobody should be surprised by the president's position that Iran absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been unequivocally clear about this for decades, not just as president, not just as a presidential candidate, but also as a private citizen. In fact, I have some quotes for you. In 2011, President Trump said, America's primary goal with Iran must be to destroy its nuclear ambitions. We cannot allow this radical regime to acquire a nuclear weapon that they will either use or hand off to terrorists. In 2015, the president said the problem is that Iran poses an existential threat to Israel, our Middle Eastern allies, and the United States. And of course, the president has repeated that in his first term as president and his second term as president as well. That's why he was adamantly opposed to the disastrous Iranian nuclear agreement that was implemented by President Obama. And it's why he has given great latitude and given a lot of effort to achieving a diplomatic solution. But he's been very clear. Iran went for 60 days when he gave them that 60-day warning without coming to the table. On day 61, Israel took action against Iran. And as I just told you from the president directly, he will make a decision within 2 weeks.
A follow-up?
Sure. Go ahead, Natalie.
Thanks, Caroline. Can you confirm whether Steve Witkoff has been in touch with the Iranian foreign minister? And does Witkoff plan to go to Geneva tomorrow for talks?
I am not tracking that on Mr. Witkoff's travel schedule, but I can certainly check in with him to be sure. As for correspondence between the United States and the Iranians, I can confirm that correspondence has continued. As you know, we were engaged with 6 rounds of negotiations with them in both indirect and direct ways.
Thanks, Kelly. Just to clarify the president's statement just now, when he says that he'll make a decision in the next 2 weeks, is he saying that if Iran does not come back to the negotiating table within the next 2 weeks, that the president will strike?
The president is saying that he will make a decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. It's very clear and direct.
And is he seeing any signs of progress? He obviously is holding out hope for negotiations, but is he seeing any inklings of progress that give him that hope that talks are still possible?
Well, that's why he said in the statement that I just read for all of you, based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, he will make that decision within the next 2 weeks.
What makes him think there's still a substantial chance, is my question.
I'm not going to get into the reasoning and the rationale. The president believes that, but that's his position, and he will make a decision within the next 2 weeks.
Caroline.
Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump has said previously in regard to Russia, he's used this phrase about 2 weeks several times in terms of we expect like a 2-week deadline and then you give another 2-week deadline. How can we be sure that he's going to stick to this one on making a decision on Iran?
Well, in those deadlines, as you've seen in respect to Russia, Ukraine, might I add, these are two very different, complicated global conflicts, as you know, that the president inherited from our previous incompetent president in the weakness of the previous administration. And the president has spent a tremendous amount of time and effort cleaning up these crises that were caused by the last administration's just complete dereliction of duty on the world stage and American weakness. Now we have American strength again. With respect to Russia and Ukraine, because of that American strength, and the president's leadership, we have seen these two sides engage in direct negotiations. And the last time the president said 2 weeks, you saw Russia and Ukraine have direct negotiations for the first time in years. And so the president is always interested in a diplomatic solution to the problems and the global conflicts in this world. Again, he is a peacemaker in chief. He is the peace through strength president. And so if there's a chance for diplomacy, the president's always going to grab it. But he's not afraid to use strength as well, I will add. Francesca.
Thanks, Caroline. What exactly would a deal with Iran need to entail?
No enrichment of a uranium, and it would absolutely not. Iran is not absolutely not able to achieve a nuclear weapon. The president has been very clear about that. And by the way, the deal that Special Envoy Witkoff proposed to the Iranians was both realistic and acceptable within its terms, and that's why the president is sent that deal to them.
To follow up on what you told Natalie, are the talks that the United States is currently having with Iran direct, or are those through intermediaries? And if so, which countries are acting as the intermediary right now?
Out of respect for the ongoing discussions and negotiations, I am not going to get into the details of them. We've provided you confirmation for now. Go ahead. Sure, and then behind you too.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Sorry. On the topic of negotiations and talks, does the president have any hopes or specific expectations for the talks tomorrow between European foreign secretaries and their Iranian counterpart?
Well, certainly the entire world is on the president's side when it comes to the fact that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something that pretty much all of humanity, except for the Iranian terrorist regime themselves, agree upon. And so the president expects that Europe will deliver that message directly to the Iranians.
Why does President Trump believe that this 90-day extension on TikTok will provide more runway perhaps than the previous extensions that haven't led to a divestment deal?
Because it's more time to make a good deal. Simple question. Dasha?
Thank you so much. I know things are going day by day right now. The president wants maximum optionality. Is the possibility of the U.S. getting involved in regime change in Iran at all on the table at this point? And then I have one on
Sure. The president's top priority right now is ensuring that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon and providing peace and stability in the Middle East.
On Medicaid, Caroline,
Sure.
The Senate put forward Medicaid provisions, particularly a lower cap on state provider taxes that hospitals have said would lead to mass closures, particularly in rural communities. Is the president willing to sign a bill that includes those provisions that Republican senators like Josh Hawley say will lead to hospital closures?
Out of respect for the ongoing discussions that the White House is very much actively involved in with our friends in the United States Senate, I won't comment on that specific provision. Look, the bill hasn't been sent to the president's desk yet. There's more room for change. The president, for one, I will reiterate, has been very clear on his priorities with respect to Medicaid. He wants to see waste, fraud, and abuse ridden from the system to protect it for tax-paying citizens who deserve those much-needed benefits. He wants to prioritize the sick, the needy, the poor in this country who deserve those benefits, not the 1.4 million illegal aliens who are receiving them. And he wants to make sure this one big, beautiful bill kicks those illegal aliens off of this program to preserve it and protect it and strengthen it for the American people. And the president has been very clear in that message to his friends in the Senate. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
Logistically, if the Iranians are getting to Geneva, does that mean they've found a way to get to the White House?
I am not going to get into hypotheticals, but as you heard from the president yesterday, they have expressed interest in doing so.
There's a lot
Philip.
of pressure on the president to come to the aid of Israel. There's a lot of pressure on him to finish the job with force. How is he balancing the concern that if he doesn't choose to do that, that it would send a message to Xi Jinping about the U.S. commitment to Taiwan?
Well, the president enjoys a very respectful and cordial relationship with China's president. He has long maintained that, even in his first term. And China and the United States share many strategic interests, both in terms of economics and also, of course, global affairs and foreign policy as well. However, when it comes to balancing these different viewpoints, the president is balancing a lot of viewpoints, and he is listening not just to other world leaders, but to his advisors and to people here in the country and the American people too. And I think that's what makes this president such a great leader, is his ability to listen and make a good decision on behalf of the American public based on his instincts and his experience. Don't forget, this is a president who was here before, and the world was a much more peaceful and stable place when he left office than when he came back in after the past 4 years of complete incompetence by the previous president. Philip, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Two quick questions. When the president says Iran is very close to a nuclear weapon, is he relying on U.S. intelligence or intelligence sharing from an ally to make that assessment?
It is a fact, and the United States government maintains this fact, that Iran has never been closer to obtaining a nuclear weapon.
And then if the U.S. were to take some type of military action, would the president go to Congress to seek war authority?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. I gave you the statement from the president. He'll make a decision within 2 weeks.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Harry and then Elizabeth.
Two questions, one on Iran and then the second on something Jasmine Crockett said this morning. So given that we know the Iranian government did order an operative to assassinate the president, is there concern that Iran might respond with non-traditional military ways to some kind of strike on Iran, such as another assassination attempt? And has the Department of Justice looked into this last attempt on the president's life?
I believe Secret Service and the FBI have looked into the 2 assassination attempts that took place against the president, both of which were sad days in our nation's history. So I would defer you to the Department of Justice on where those investigations stand. But as for your question regarding Iranian retaliation, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals again, but I can assure the American public and the world that this administration is prepared and ready to defend American interests and assets, not just in the region, but here on our homeland as well.
Thank you. And then really quick on Jasmine Crockett, she said, I believe, that Trump supporters are mentally ill before calling for bipartisan support against the president. Can you respond to that, especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now?
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up, outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime, and she can see it for herself. Jennifer.
One on North Korea and one on China. On North Korea, they launched some rockets into the ocean today. What does the White House make of that? Do you read any meaning into that timing of that launch? And then on China, do you have any reaction to Xi Jinping's offer of intervening in Iran diplomatically? And are you seeing any signs that China would get involved militarily to support Iran?
I don't believe we're seeing any signs of that at this moment in time. As for Xi Jinping's offer, I will leave it to the president to respond to that himself. As for your question about North Korea, we are monitoring the situation. The Trump administration is in close contact with our new South Korean counterparts as we work together to deter our adversaries and preserve a free and open Indo-Pacific. And no matter where, our adversaries and our allies alike know that President Trump will not tolerate threats against our interests on his watch, even as he works to resolve the wars that he inherited. Alex, go ahead, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you. Is the president concerned about the economy if farms and hotels, et cetera, struggle to find workers?
The president's always concerned about the economy. That's on his mind every day. He wakes up, he checks the markets, he checks wage growth. As I pointed out, it's a record high today for middle class and American workers. So the president's always wanting to ensure that we have a strong and robust economy for the American people and worker, and we do. As for the specific concerns regarding jobs, look, the president has made it very clear we need to remove public safety threats from the interior of our country, and that remains the focus and the priority of this administration when it comes to deportations, no matter where somebody works. If they're an illegal alien rapist or murderer that was allowed into this country in the past 4 years by this administration, the American people want those types of criminals to be deported from our country, and that's what the president is backing ICE to do.
Thanks. There was an apparent skirmish between the Chinese and the Philippines in the South China Sea. Just curious if you had any reaction to that, and if the steps you're taking towards the Middle East right now are reducing your capacity to deal with that situation.
I believe that happened as I was preparing and coming out here, so we'll get you a response to that. Certainly we have one, and our teams are always monitoring situations all around the globe.
Okay, and then one more just on Iran. Just over the past 24 hours, we've seen some Israeli strikes on Natanz, Isfahan, and Kondab nuclear facilities. Is there any assessment just of how effective or what the result of those strikes will be?
What I can share is that the IDF and Israel, I think, have exceeded a lot of people's expectations in their ability to really hinder Iran's nuclear facilities, but also they've taken out key people in the Iranian regime's leadership as well. So this is something, of course, we are monitoring and watching every day, and the president was just in an intelligence briefing. He continues to be briefed by his National Security Council, and he will throughout the duration of this war and conflict. And he also remains in constant communication with our Israeli counterparts, most notably Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Kristen.
Thank you, Caroline. We have heard from a number of U.S. officials who say that Iran doesn't want to make a deal, that they are just stringing the United States along. What is to say that they are not going to continue to do so if we continue to give them extensions, now 2 weeks before 60 days?
Look, Iran is in a very weak and vulnerable position because of the strikes and the attacks from Israel. And with respect to the president's statement, I shared that with all of you. And he has been very direct and clear. Iran can and should make a deal. We sent a deal to them that was practical, that was realistic, or they will face grave consequences.
Why is Steve Witkoff not participating in the talks this week?
I can ask Mr. Witkoff why he is not.
Thanks, Caroline. Does the president object if Israel attempts its own operation against Fordo in the next 2 weeks?
I won't decide that for the president, nor will I share that here. I'll let him speak to that.
Just another one. Iran is apparently warning Europeans that if struck by the U.S., it may withdraw from the nuclear proliferation treaty. That would result in throwing out inspectors and taking the program dark. What does the president think of the value of having Iran as a full signatory of that treaty?
Well, that's reckless rhetoric, but I understand the Europeans are meeting with the Iranians tomorrow, so we'll see how that meeting goes.
Just one more on Juneteenth. Does the president plan to commemorate the holiday today or make any comment on it?
I'm not tracking his signature on a proclamation today. I know this is a federal holiday. I want to thank all of you for showing up to work. We are certainly here. We're working 24/7 right now. Nikki, go ahead.
Actually, that was my question. Will he plan to mark Juneteenth in any way, either today or with an event later on, maybe next week?
Sure. I just answered that question for you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Caroline. The fact that this president is giving some time and space for diplomacy, another 2 weeks, does it mean that the president is trying his best to avoid a direct conflict with Iran?
I think the president has made it clear he always wants to pursue diplomacy, but believe me, the president is unafraid to use strength if necessary. And Iran and the entire world should know that the United States military is the strongest and most lethal fighting force in the world, and we have capabilities that no other country on this planet possesses. Owen.
Caroline, good afternoon. The Supreme Court, as you know, has upheld Tennessee's ban on transgender medical procedures for minors, puberty blockers, hormone therapy, etc. The White House reaction to that, please.
It's a huge victory for America's children, and it's obviously something this administration believes strongly in, that young minor children should not be allowed to be subjected to chemical castration and mutilation. The president himself has taken very strong orders, or has signed very strong executive orders on this, and we are grateful for Tennessee's efforts to protect our children, and we are grateful the Supreme Court ruled on the side of the law, but also on the side of protecting America's innocent children. Elizabeth, go ahead. Sorry, I skipped you earlier.
Okay, thank you so much. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced new vetting procedures on student visas. Will this serve as a model for vetting other foreign visas?
For all foreign visas, yes. As you know, the president signed an executive order, I think it was one of the first he signed in the first week, to strengthen our vetting requirements and our vetting system here in the United States for all visas. He directed the Secretary of State to do that. There was a pause in some of that vetting, as you all know, recently, especially with respect to students from some certain countries. But the vetting has continued, and it's stronger than ever before. As for specifics on how the vetting process has changed, I would defer you to the Department of State. As you know, they're in charge of things like that.
Thank you. To what extent is this 2-week delay with Iran the result of interventions by the likes of Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or the entreaties of European leaders who want a de-escalation?
Look, the president hears all voices across the country, and he makes decisions based on his instincts. And he has always said diplomacy is his first option.
And is he still planning to attend the NATO summit next week?
He is, yes. We will be departing from Washington on Monday morning, and hopefully we'll see some of you there. Kayla.
Thanks, Caroline. Oil prices have been spiking over the last week. Is the president watching the oil market, and is that factoring into his decision-making in the Middle East?
Again, as I said to, I think, Alex's question previously, the president is always watching, and this administration is doing more than any in history to bring oil prices and gas prices here at home down for the American public. They have been plummeting since President Trump's inauguration because of the executive action and the federal action this administration has taken on the home front. But yes, of course, he's paying attention and monitoring that. But as for whether it's weighing into his decision, there's a number of factors that, of course, are, and as I said, he will make that decision in the next 2 weeks. Can't reiterate that enough. Ouija.
Caroline, thank you. With regard to a potential deal, Iran has said it will not negotiate under duress. Does the president believe there should be a ceasefire in these next 2 weeks as the U.S. tries to broker a deal?
That's not what he said in the statement he dictated to me, so I won't get ahead of the president or add anything additional to the statement that he gave me the liberty to share with all of you.
And then just to follow up on how close Iran is to a nuclear weapon, can you clarify when the president said a few weeks away, did he mean obtaining enough enriched uranium to start building a weapon, or did he mean Iran is a few weeks away from completing the production of a weapon?
I'm glad you asked that, Ouija. It's an important question, and it's one, frankly, the media has been getting wrong. Let's be very clear. Iran has all that it needs to achieve a nuclear weapon. All they need is a decision from the supreme leader to do that, and it would take a couple of weeks to complete the production of that weapon, which would, of course, pose an existential threat not just to Israel, but to the United States and to the entire world. And that is something that the entire world, including countries like Russia, is in agreement with, that Iran should not and cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. And that's why the president believes that, and he's believed that, again, not just his political career, but frankly, his entire life.
So it
Michael.
sounds like it's the former, just to be clear.
Correct.
That they have the components. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Michael.
Caroline, as we look forward to the NATO summit next week, Spain right now is threatening not to oblige the president's request for all NATO countries to spend at least 5% of their GDP. Does the president take issue with this, with Spain right now?
I didn't see Spain's comments. I'll make sure the president sees them, and I can assure you he wants to see all European countries pay their fair share and meet that 5% threshold. It's only fair considering the American taxpayers have given a significant chunk of money to the tune of billions of dollars to support our mutual interests and our assured defense. So I will let him speak to that, but he's made his priorities for our European allies quite clear, including Spain.
Caroline, one last question. When it comes to the president's position on foreign policy in general, is there a phrase that the White House has coined? Is there a Trump doctrine? Does the president like to talk about this? Anyone here in the White House talking about this? And if so, if there is something akin to a Trump doctrine, how would you define it?
America first, always. And with that, I think I'll leave you. I know there's a lot of news in the world right now. As you know, our team is always here to answer your questions, and the president, I am sure, will take more questions from you guys at some point this week, as he always does in the effort of transparency. I appreciate your being here on a federal holiday, and we'll see you later. Thank you.
Okay, so that, of course, wraps up this press briefing. We heard what we wanted to hear. We wanted to hear an update on the situation in the Middle East. We received that. So why don't we play that one more time, the 19 seconds of the statement from President Trump, who told Karoline Leavitt the statement to deliver to the media. And this soundbite is going to be played millions of times on social media and, of course, around the world for those that can understand the English language. Most likely will be translated as well. Here's Karoline Leavitt from moments ago.
I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
There you go. So within the next 2 weeks, today is June 19th, 2025. 2 weeks from today is July 3rd, 2025. So within these next 14 days, we'll know if the president decides, quote, to go with Iran or not. So we'll see. So here we go. A lot going on over the next 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens. We'll be monitoring it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for streaming in with us live. Let's thank a number of sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, including All Family Pharmacy. You can use that RSBN 20 promo code right there. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN is the great website to go to. Also, Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN for that free info kit on gold. Also, let's go to angelpaste.com. You can use the RSBN promo code there as well. You'll get quite the discount for those great products there, angelpaste.com. Also, Bearskin, when it comes to the following, check it out. Text RSBN to 36912. Also, mypillow.com/RSBN. Get that free pillow right there with God, all things are possible with any purchase. mypillow.com/RSBN. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is text that number. You might want to take a screenshot or take a look there, 855-575-7888. So you just text RSBN in the body of the message, RSBN, and then you type in 855, or actually 1-855-575-7888. It is 2 o'clock, top of the hour. Thanks so much for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network for this live event with the Press Secretary, Karoline Leavitt. Again, the question of whether or not to go is going to be answered within 14 days from now, within 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. For all of us here at RSBN, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for everybody behind the scenes and everybody, the moderators on RSBN and everyone else. Thanks so much for doing what you do. And thank you, viewers, for watching. We'll see you later.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interviewed the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.